Call 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
Your financial future deserves more than just a financial strategy. It deserves a dedicated resource. Meet Michelle Shute with West Point Financial Group, a Mass Mutual firm. With almost 2 decades of experience, Michelle builds lifelong relationships, guiding families through legacy strategies from grandparents down to grandkids, helping people secure their financial independence. Michelle Shute is focused on needs, not just numbers, and that means retirement planning, life insurance, and estate planning strategies. Whether preparing for college, retirement, or protecting your business, Michelle's needs-based approach helps you prepare for life's biggest moments. Start building your financial future today. Call Michelle at 224-499-3665. That's 224-499-3665. Michelle Shute of West Point Financial Group, helping you earn, learn, and secure your tomorrow. Local firms are sales offices of Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company, Mass Mutual, Springfield, Massachusetts, 01111-001, and are not subsidiaries of Mass Mutual or its affiliated companies. Michelle Shute is a registered representative of and offers securities through MML Investor Services, LLC, member SIPC. Supervisory office located at 30 South Wacker Drive, Suite 2700, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hugh Hewitt sees damage, but there's still a threat.
Together, we continue to deliver precision strikes against key manufacturing nodes. And over the past 30 days, we've struck more than 11,000 targets.
11,000. That's not the Israelis. The Israelis are running out of targets. I don't know what's left in Iran, but they can still threaten the Strait.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's April 7th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Cheers, it's National Beer Day. On this day in 1933, people could once again buy, sell, and drink beer, so much so, Americans guzzled 1.5 million barrels of legal beer and ale. Also on this day, in 1948, the World Health Organization is established. It's the United Nations agency concerned with fighting disease and epidemics worldwide. In 1805, the great explorers Lewis and Clark leave Fort Mandan in North Dakota to continue their journey west. Born on this day, singer, songwriter, actress Billie Holiday in 1915, actors Jackie Chan in 1954 and Russell Crowe in 1964, and legendary writer, producer, director Francis Ford Coppola, who brought the world the Godfather trilogy. I'm CJ Papa, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The law group you know and trust, Nauman & Associates, is expanding into commercial litigation. When disputes can't be resolved, get the strategic guidance from a litigation lawyer who will fight for your rights. Attorney Richard Cannon brings both strong courtroom and dispute settlement skills. We believe most cases can be resolved without costly courtroom battles, but we prepare as if a trial is possible. When your company needs to stand its ground, contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village. For a consultation, visit nalawgroup.com.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Only a few short months ago, you heard silver was up 40%. Well, silver is now up over 260%. Fox Valley Coins saw it coming, and they're ready to help. Unlike dealers that only buy or only sell, Fox Valley Coins does both. No middleman. That means you get the best deal on the dollar. Selling? Fox Valley Coins pays top dollar for rare coins, scrap gold and silver, bars, proof sets, and entire collections of any size, going through every item right in front of you, cash, check, or wire transfer. Buying? Fox Valley Coins carries all major gold, silver, and platinum physical products. Complete discretion. Your business stays your business. Fox Valley Coins, family-owned integrity since 1981. On Route 59, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Fox Valley Coins. Buy smart, sell smart.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
I didn't switch to Pure Talk just because I wanted to save 50% off the same 5G service I'd been paying twice as much for. I switched because I like the idea of being in business with a wireless company that supports our veterans in a meaningful way. Pure Talk also creates American jobs every day by keeping their entire operation in this country. I appreciate that. If you feel the same, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She can get a deal. Book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom. 630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to call Crosscom. They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you. Call Crosscom. Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
What happens when a school is truly built around teenage girls? Their growth, their confidence, their faith, their future? You get bold young women who lead without hesitation, speak without fear, and discover exactly who they're meant to be. Rosary College Prep in Aurora is the only all-girls college prep high school in the western suburbs, and we've been doing this since 1962. We know how girls learn best. That's why our students thrive in STEM, the arts, and leadership at remarkable rates, even earning AP Platinum status from the College Board. At Rosary, your daughter won't just be educated. She'll be seen, challenged, and supported every single day. Girls here collaborate, inspire each other, and grow grounded in faith and driven by purpose. Come see it for yourself. Schedule a personal tour at rosaryprep.org. That's rosaryprep.org.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and chilly with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. All hail the Michigan Wolverines, the kings of college basketball this year. Although it would have been nice, say, if you were someone that had Michigan minus the 6.5, if they would have covered a team they should have beat by 20. I'm just saying, but I digress. Well, it was sort of a fun weekend. Of course, I was off yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to preview last night's championship game and talk a little bit about the Final Four, including the Illini's Final Four run that got stopped by UConn. And I just want to, if anybody was on the thread over the weekend where I took out after Brad Underwood after that woeful scheming and adjustments that he didn't make in that game against UConn, a game the Illini should have won, clearly the superior team in terms of talent, then I really enjoyed it, if anybody listening was on it. Well, it was a real look-see into sports talk radio or sports talk online. I mean, it was a joke. Brett Underwood, may be a good recruiter, and they had a good season, and he brought them back to relevance and all these other misdirectional responses from Illini homers. But the offense was Keaton Wagler dribbling at the top of the key for 15 seconds and then deciding which stationary screen around the elbow he was or was not going to use, depending on whether or not it wanted to pop a 25-footer. And I got, and then after the game, I said something. Well, here, I'll read it. I said, Brett Underwood, another overpaid, underperforming Illinois government employee with a guaranteed 8-figure pension. He should be a suburban school district superintendent. And then the vitriol really came. It was really entertaining. And it was all so petulant and pathetic and, the typical sort of bedwetting that you get from a homer who just can't hear anything, no matter how true it is. And then, Barstool Sports Illini, which is affiliated with the real Barstool Sports, and Steve Partnoy weighed in because they're the final arbiters of these things. And I should sit it out because Brad Underwood has a higher winning percentage than I do. so and so forth. Is that how sports works? You have to be a D1 coach with a higher winning percentage than Brad Underwood in order to comment on Brad Underwood? Is that the standard that everybody applies to themselves and things they criticize? No, of course not. That's why it's so funny. It's so mindless. Oh, my goodness. I'd like to meet the people who can, maybe it's some listening, I don't know, who can listen to like a 3-hour show on the score or a 4-hour show on the score. Good grief. What a waste of time. It's a real glimpse. I don't listen to it, so it's a real glimpse into sports talk radio, at least in its current constitution. I'm getting lectured to assists don't matter. I mean, Illini had one assist in the first half per the offense they were running. By the way, on defense, at some point you may want to figure on helping and recovering off of screening for their three-point shooters. So you didn't make every mediocre three-point shooter on UConn look like Ray Allen, which is what the Illini did, particularly in the first half. I mean, it's a thought. But I'm not a Division I coach, and I'm not this, and I'm not that. Okay, fine. I just thought just address whether that's true or not. And the adjustment from the first half brought them 2 assists in the second half. 3 assists total for the game. 1-on-1 or 1-on-3 or 1-on-5 basketball. That's good basketball. By contrast, UConn had 14 assists. Pass the ball around. I mean, you don't need to be Norman Dale. How many times are we going to pass the ball? 3. But it was just, and then people, Brad Underwood, his salary comes from the athletic department, and it's not that. Yeah, I know. It's a joke, or it's a hyperbolic criticism. I don't actually think Brad Underwood should be a suburban school superintendent. But it was a pathetic game plan that was poorly executed. And no adjustments. I mean, he got pantsed by Danny Hurley, who is unbearable. So I'm just saying, you're mean. You're all the name calling. It was really, really fun. Yeah. And then you look at, he's got the team in a top 5 program now from a top 10. I mean, they've been there before, by the way. I mean, they went to the championship game 20 years ago. And then, the Flying Illini 20 years before that, round numbers. Well, Nick Anderson, Marcus Liberty, and so forth. It's not, he's not plotting ground that's ever been plotted in Illinois. And there's the whole, we had a great season. Yeah? Well, I'm talking about the Final Four game. Were you just happy to be there? I thought there was an interest in winning. Remarkable. It's just so funny. It's like so. I think this is endemic of sports radio or in sports talk and sports fandom, generally speaking. So I'm not ascribing this specifically to Illinois, but the responses were so typically Illinois. The unwillingness to dispense with beautiful lies and accentuating the positive in a mindless way, and an inability to confront the actual case that's being made. Because you just have this sort of knee-jerk Homerism. La, 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 I can't hear you, I can't hear you. I had fun with it, so I thought I'd share it in case anybody still wanted to take a swing. Rhetorically speaking, please do. 312-642-5600 to give me a call or text. Give me my what fors on Illini basketball. Now, the flip side of that, the good news from all this, yeah, they made a Final Four. Yeah. The good news, actually, the interesting thing over the weekend, it was Easter weekend, was the players from the Final Four teams that were asked about their faith. CBN Sports, actually something intelligent coming out of sports coverage. CBN Sports, Christian Broadcast Network Sports, asked players, apparently that they had an idea from previous interaction or just research, doing some homework. There are a number of players on a number of the Final Four teams, including the Illini, who are young men of faith. And this was really encouraging. This whole movement, particularly among young men, towards Christianity, specifically Christianity, but faith in their life has been really positive. And there was, I also saw like a mass baptism on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh over the weekend. Some encouraging signs. So let's start with the Illini. Maybe I can get back instead with Illini Nation. Keaton Wagler, who is a super talented player, no question. I'm not blaming him. I'm blaming Underwood. Anyway, and he should probably stay one more year to season his game, get a little bigger and stronger too. But anyway, on Christianity and his faith, Keaton Wagler.
I'm a big faithful guy. I know I wouldn't be where I am without God. So yeah, I keep him close to my heart. I thank him every day for the blessings he's gave me. And for him to help me to get to where I am today says a lot.
Ben Humrikus.
Prove God Right was a mission that God has put on my heart. Coming from, there's a long story behind it, but coming from Evansville, I wanted to find a way that I could share the gospel. And it's fun that I get to do it on a day like today, being Good Friday, where we get to celebrate the death of Jesus Christ, and which later comes on Sunday with his resurrection. And so Prove God Right is a mission for me, where I can share the gospel, saying that we all have a mission in this life where God has given us a will in our hearts. And we get to prove God right when we are obedient to his will and desiring to know him and to grow in an understanding of who he is for us. And so prove God right is just a way, like I sell shirts and bracelets, but it's really just a phrase that has related to me, but to so many about the grace that God has given us and the many gifts that he has given us that we want to move with gratitude for.
Yeah, that's good stuff there. Some of the stars from some of the other teams, too. It's nice to hear from them. Like Terrace Reed Jr., the man in the middle for UConn, who had a really solid tournament. He's a good player, strong kid.
The fact that this is Easter weekend, how significant is that to you? And the fact that what does the resurrection mean to you?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. The resurrection is really everything. That's like the staple of Christianity. So I feel like without the resurrection, there is no Christian, there is no Jesus. So I feel like once you can show a lot of significant evidence for the resurrection, it shows a lot of the proof towards Christianity. So I feel like just to go through where I came from throughout my college career, how Jesus just literally changed my mind. Like, he changed everything about me. And it's crazy looking back. Like, I saw my old team, Michigan, the other day, and spoke to a couple of those guys. They were like we just seen each other just grow so much and just change. So it's just been a blessing just to see myself just, like I said, grow through Jesus. He just, like I said, wiped my eyes clean. My whole mind is different. The way I talk, walk, act, change. The way I treat other people. It's like more not to get, but more to serve. I feel like I'm here to really serve and serve others.
Koa Pete, who is a standout for Arizona, he'll be another lottery pick.
Without faith, I'm nothing. So, I've been really faithful since a young child. My dad was a pastor, but, just something that, it's really, really big for me. I don't think, basketball is really my purpose. I think, being able to, have this platform to, spread the gospel is really my purpose for sure.
Toby Awaka, also Arizona.
What does the name of Jesus mean to you?
I think the name of Jesus is very powerful, and I think that now in this day and age, as much as ever, it's sort of contrarian. I think it's a emotionally charged name that garners a lot of thought and opinion. But I kind of see his name as sort of a key to a purposeful life, a satisfied life, a life with true meaning.
Pretty impressive, aren't they? These young guys. Let's go to the victors. Namari Burnett from Michigan.
Just the fact that it's Easter weekend, I know your faith is important to you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that means everything to me. I read the Bible every single day, and it's just a part of who I am and who I'm becoming. I feel like Jesus Christ sacrificed for us to be here and to be on the stage, and just like you said, a strong believer. And I think it leads me to walk a Christ-led life and just to love everyone around me. So I'm grateful to be here, and I know that's a big part of it.
Michigan's Trey McKenney, who hit that big three down the stretch to basically put it away for the Wolverines last night.
This is Easter weekend. Yeah. How are you feeling about that? And tell me the significance of that in your life.
Yeah, my grandfather is a pastor, and I grew up in the church, all throughout my life. But it's kind of crazy, this weekend, because it's one of my first weekends I haven't went to church on Easter Sunday. So, but it's amazing to be able to be on this platform on such a great weekend. But I just give all the glory to God, that while I'm here, and he's gave me this journey and this path to follow on. So I'm just really grateful, and I'm really blessed for it.
And Morez Johnson Jr., who of course is former Illini, had a great game last night for Michigan. Not a great tournament, but great game last night. He was big. Also, he's Riverdale. He was Thornton Township High School, but I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think he started at St. Rita before he finished at Thornton. Anyway, this is what Morris Johnson Jr. said.
Whereas Will Dawson, CBN Sports, I know your faith is important to you. This is Easter weekend. Can you talk about the significance that's played in your life?
Man, all glory to God always. Without him, I wouldn't be here right now. And he's so important. I thank him for waking me up every day.
So anyway, good stuff from some of the best players in college basketball in those Final Four teams over the weekend. A lot of, grown-up young men. Chet Lyle, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Just on a related note, this past Easter weekend on campus at U of I, over 130 students converted to Catholicism and were brought into the Catholic faith at the Easter Vigil.
Oh, good to know. I didn't know that. Thanks for the call, Chet. Appreciate it. Larry Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hey, it's nice to hear that young men like that have the fear of God in them compared to the NBA. But my point is, like you were talking about Underwood. Underwood, to me, he just wants to be their friend. Everybody gets the participation trophy. Where's the Bobby Knight to college basketball anymore, It's Ditka. They need Ditka.
Thanks for the call, Larry. Well, he doesn't have to throw chairs. He just has to... scheme the game plan a little bit better, make adjustments a little bit quicker. Danny Hurley just ran circles around him. And I could go into more depth, but I don't want to bore people. Or enrage Illini Nation. Mark in Oak Lawn.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Brad Underwood, I remember when he was coaching against Loyola it's got to be about 7 or 8 years ago, and they were going to the Elite Eight. They beat Loyola Chicago, and Loyola was a 10-point underdog, and Loyola's offense was just a pick and roll, and Brad Underwood couldn't defend. They just don't know how to defend. They get pushed around. The other teams push them around all the time, and they don't have any game plan, just like you said.
Well, thanks for the call, Mark. The Lions are big. That's a big team he had. I don't know if they were getting pushed around. It was just, again, it was not helping and recovering. It was the the game plan. They were slow. They were slow to challenge outside shots, wide open looks. And I know they missed a lot of shots and this and that. Yeah, well, they do miss a lot of shots. But 1 assist in the first half, 3 assists. And because they are so talented, they were in the game in the last 3 minutes, despite all of what I'm saying. A little bit more resiliency from the coaching staff, I'm saying, could have gone a long way in that game. All right, we'll turn our attention to, matters that are slightly more important, like war and peace in the Middle East at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning, 31 degrees in Chicago and AM 560, The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson. The civil rights trial in the deadly 21 police shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo is underway in Chicago. A wrongful death lawsuit was filed after Officer Eric Stillman shot and killed the teen while chasing him into an alley in Little Village in March of that year. Retrial motions yesterday. Jury selection expected to start next week. Lawmakers are considering a ban on no-knock warrants named after Anjanette Young. Young urged state lawmakers to pass the Anjanette Young Act, which would ban no-knock warrants in all but certain situations where the safety of officers or others is threatened.
Our communities deserve better, and this state has a chance to do better.
Young, the subject of a botched raid in 2019. Officers forced her to stand naked, handcuffed, while they searched her home. This report is sponsored by True Green. Warmer weather is here, and the weeds aren't far behind. But the lawn care pros at True Green are ready. Don't wait. Sign up at truegreen.com by April 7th and get 6 weeks free. Let the pros do the work so you can enjoy your weekend.
Scott Jennings can see the real problem.
Democrats in Chicago. First, they blamed Sheridan Gorman for her own death. They said that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. No, I think the real problem here, folks, is that American citizens like Sheridan Gorman are being murdered by people who should not be here.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, AM 560 listeners. Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
And now it's time for the Cat's Corner.
This is John Catsimatidis. Leadership matters. Two types of leadership, whether you're in politics or whether you're in the corporate world. If you're in politics, there's a great divide between Democrats and Republicans. I remember the days when Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton, they didn't like each other, but they sat around the table and they made peace with each other. Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill, they didn't like each other. But at the end of the day, they sat down around a round table, and guess what? They made a deal that was good for America. So I call upon all politicians. Common sense, no nonsense. Leaders in the corporate world have to find out and know what's going on, whether they're there or not there. There's an old Greek expression, don't let the violin play behind your back. Leaders don't shut doors. They make sure the door is open and always know what's going on the other side of the office. Leadership matters. I'm John Catsimatidis, and that's your Cat's Corner.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight, expect partly to mostly cloudy skies and chilly conditions with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One more postscript about college sports before we turn our attention to the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline tonight that Trump has imposed on the Iranians. And that is an executive order that Trump promulgated last week with respect to college sports and providing some structure to this NIL era, if you will. So while people are still talking college sports, you know, on the heels of March Madness finishing up with Michigan defeating UConn last night, I thought it was worth at least making sure you're aware of what Trump's executive order contained, following on that confab he had at the White House several weeks back with Nick Saban and big conference commissioners, Ron DeSantis, and what he would like to see translated into statutory law. Oh, well, yeah. The notion that Congress would act rather than just sit around watching the president issue executive orders. But anyway, here's Fox News reporting on the contents.
It restricts the amount of money that student athletes can be paid. Some of them are making millions and millions of dollars now, thanks to NIL, name, likeness, name, image, and likeness.
Like the pro sports level.
Yeah, which is incredible. It also, Griff, sets a 5-year eligibility window for NCAA athletes, no more than 6th and 7th year trying to come back, even 8 years, I've heard. And this is key, too. It restricts athletes to just one transfer per 5-year period, but there's some controversy behind that.
Well, there's not controversy, and that's a good thing in theory. However, in situations like you saw my alma mater at Ole Miss, when Lane Kiffin had built the program, athletes had transferred to be a part of that team, leaves on the eve of competing in the national championship. Should those athletes, if your coach leaves in the portal, you're talking about reforming the portal, should they get one more transfer? I would argue the answer is yes. It also, by the way, pushes schools to prioritize women's and Olympic sports regardless of revenue.
That's huge.
That's a huge deal. Doesn't get enough attention. It calls on Congress to pass legislation like the SCORE Act. Remember, ultimately, an executive order at the executive level can only go so far. Congress has yet to vote on this, but there's bipartisan support in both the House and Senate. And then finally, the president is threatening withholding federal funding for schools that don't comply with this. We'll see where it goes. But, Kevin, it's a really important issue for college sports, and it's long overdue to be reformed.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you transfer because you want to play for Lane Kiffin, you've got bad judgment to begin with. And secondly, if you think that he's committed to you for as long as you're committed to the school, unless a bigger, better deal comes along, then you don't know much about Lane Kiffin, and you should suffer the consequences. And I'm picking on Lane Kiffin because I despise him, but I would say that generally speaking. No, I like what Trump has outlined here. It's unfortunate you've got all these big conference commissioners buy into this. Well, why didn't you get around a table and figure this out yourselves? Why does the president have to intervene here? Can't you run your business? It's so annoying. The NCAA is so inept. It has been for a long time, I know, which is why nobody wants to take the side of the NCAA. However, some structure is needed here. And I know it's a bit anti-capitalistic, but this isn't really a competitive marketplace when it comes to college sports. So 5-year eligibility, one transfer, capping player comp, that's all positive steps. Okay. Now we turn our attention to bigger, better things like this 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline that Trump has imposed on the Iranians. And what happens if there is not some sort of commitment to reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation. And you know what? If that's the case, the last thing we want to do is start with power plants, which are among the most expensive things, and bridges. You saw the bridge. The bridge went. We were very close to a deal. And then I got a call from Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, and J.D. saying, I think they're breaking the deal. I said, tell them that's okay. Don't worry about it. But tell them to look out their window and watch. And within 45 minutes, I gave the order to knock out the biggest bridge. I gave the order, knock out the biggest bridge in, I believe, the Middle East, but the biggest bridge in Iran. And within 10 minutes after I gave that order, that bridge was over. So do I want to do that? No. Do I want to destroy their infrastructure? No. It will take them 100 years to rebuild. Right now, if we left today, it would take them 20 years to rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was. And the only way they're going to be able to rebuild their country is to utilize the genius of the United States.
Bridges over troubled sand are in trouble, as our power plants. So the lights go out by midnight tonight if there's not a deal by 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text whether or not that is a proper line for Trump to draw, a proper threat for him to make, and would it be proper for him to consummate that threat if the Iranians dig in and refuse to come to an agreement on reopening the strait, which is the central issue here. Maybe a deadline extension?
They've had plenty of time. In fact, they asked for 7 days. I said, I'm going to give you 10. But at the end of 10, all hell's going to break out if you don't get there. I doubt it.
Doesn't sound like it. And part of the problems communicating is that the channels of communication have been largely limited and eliminated.
Years of this stuff is long enough. They're at the weakest point they've ever been. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft weaponry, they have no radar, they have no communication. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. I said to Steve, what are they saying? Sir, they can't communicate. They have no method of communication. So we're communicating like they used to communicate 2,000 years ago with children, bringing a note back and forth. They have no communication, but all I want to see is I want to have a safe world, and you're not going to have a safe world.
No communication, but the communication that has been offered from Pakistani intermediaries is no deal. So today is Power Plant and Bridge Day, all wrapped into one, as the president posted on social media in explicit terms over the weekend. Power Plant and Bridge Day. And now, some are parting company, some erstwhile Trump supporters are parting company with him on this approach, including Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, who doesn't want to see what he considers civilian targets included in the hit list. I think, and all of this war crimes business being thrown around, when you're talking about transportation infrastructure, power infrastructure that fuels the Iranian war machine, those, I would argue, it's ugly, so is war, but they're legitimate military targets. And the Iranians' response is to issue a clarion call through the Ministry of Sports and Youth to for the youth of Iran, including athletes, artists, and students, to gather at 2 p.m. today around the country's power plants. So that's the regime's approach, which is customary with these Islamist terrorists, to use children, women as human shields for these cowards. And I'm sure we'll have sights on any such occurrence coming to pass. And I'm sure we're not going to indiscriminately kill women and children, nor should we. But the larger issue of turning out the lights in Tehran to convey seriousness and urgency. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Philip in Blue Island.
Brian, that's interesting. I had no idea that the conversation is going to turn on the communication, because my understanding is that the Iranian people don't have communication.
No. I'm talking about communication between the two negotiating parties. Yeah, no, I know the Iranians haven't had internet for 1,000 hours.
Right. So if they don't have, and the other point is that if the Iranian people, I thought this was about the Iranian people, the so-called revolution that Trump said at the beginning, hit the streets and take back your country. But now that the United States is indiscriminately just bombing all around the country, and now they're talking about bridges and infrastructure. And I was just telling your producer, I was like, since it was about the Iranian people, what if they volunteer? Of course, the U.S. media is going to make it sound like, the Iranian people are just so stupid that they don't, they're not going to protect their own infrastructure. They're not going to protect their own lives. But it's about the people, and they decide that they're going to go to these bridges. They're going to go to these power plants. They're going to go to these other infrastructure that's needed for civilizations to survive. Should the U.S. still bomb them?
Well, thanks for the call, Philip. I mean, so first of all, the U.S. is not indiscriminately bombing at present. And I wouldn't call what has been proposed indiscriminate bombing either. So let's not, mischaracterize the situation. The U.S., maybe second only to Israel, the U.S. takes unbelievable care to avoid civilian casualties. Generally unavoidable in war. I'm not being flippant about it. That's just a fact that we all have to recognize, which is why war is hell, which is why nobody wants to be at war. No sensible person wants to be at war. So, let's not characterize our military men and women as anything other than highly skilled, as we saw with this incredible rescue over the weekend that was still being talked about yesterday, as well it should be. Properly trained, and yes, they'll carry out difficult tasks, but they are men and women, generally speaking, of high character. They don't need Mark Kelly to tell them to not go along with an unlawful order or not to do anything that violates the Uniform Code of Military Justice and so on and so forth. So let's not get hysterical here. Let's talk about what the administration is trying to accomplish and whether or not this is a legitimate, that's fine, it's always fine to question that, as well as a prospectively effective way to accomplish the task, to reduce the exposure of our men and women to harm, and to bring them home. Because that's what we all want. Phil in Maryville.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be camping out at one of those power plants at 8 p.m. Eastern anyhow. But
I don't think I'd let my kids go out to the power plant if I was, right?
Yeah, but we got to take those out, because once we get them out, the people are going to get hungry and thirsty, and that's going to be one of the best ways to overthrow that government, because they can't take on millions of people that are hungry and starving. They would take them out, and people don't realize what it's like to live under a regime that is constantly terrorizing you for your entire life that you live there. So they could overthrow them if it comes down to it.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Phil. But this is not without peril. The entire mission isn't without peril, as we knew from the beginning. And so you don't want to lose the people that you're trying to liberate. So I can understand that sensibility, too, which is essentially a sentiment that was expressed by Senator Ron Johnson. We have to be careful here. I think you have, to the extent that they just dig in and ignore, then I think you have to continue to make whatever constitutes the regime after another 4 dozen, quote unquote, senior leaders of said regime were taken out over the weekend, we understand. So I think you have to continue to show the intestinal fortitude the regime perhaps thinks America doesn't have, but you don't want to be indiscriminate and you don't want to make a mistake such that you lose the support that you initially earned as liberators. You know, again, as you heard from so many Iranian Americans here, the desperate straits the Iranian people are in such that they are cheerleading the bombing of their country. They want out from underneath this totalitarian regime. But it's got to be surgical. You know, there can be devastation and then material support, but it's a country of 90 million people. You don't want to, as was suggested, engender a massive refugee crisis in the region on top of all of the other challenges. So, this is not so black and white as I think some would suggest it is. Joe, Hoffman Estates.
Good morning, Dan. Iran needs to be completely leveled, all of it. But there's no reason why we're going to be the ones that have to do it. Israel should take over now. If they do it, the American people would probably be a lot more happy with the Trump administration. At this point, Israel's problem more than ours anyways. What's your opinion?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, thanks for the call. I don't think it's Israel's problem more than ours. I mean, the President Trump has put down a marker here. President Trump has taken the mantle here. I mean, I understand he's trying to sort of, Mao people into allies into providing more material support, whether it's with respect to the Strait, or just generally speaking, most particularly with respect to the Strait, though. He was, at it again with respect to NATO yesterday, as you heard. We'll get to that a little bit later. So President Trump owns this. He owns the outcome. So I don't think you want to cede the completion of the job to Israel or any other coalition. You're the head of that coalition. What President Trump says is what the rest of this coalition is going to do, or approximately what they're going to do. So he's ultimately going to be held accountable for how this goes. I don't think you want to hand over the con at this point. I will talk about this a little bit more. Folded NATO, as I said, also more color on that unbelievable rescue of that weapons service officer over the weekend. We'll do all of that and take your calls at 606. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran has 13 hours left to make a deal. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
And after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants.
President Trump threatening to blow all of them up unless Iran allows the free flow of oil and other shipping again in the Strait of Hormuz. The negotiations continue on that and a lot more as Pakistan and others broker ceasefire talks.
We're talking about the dismantlement of Iran's nuclear facilities, zero nuclear enrichment of uranium, missile constraints, the Strait of Hormuz being free and open, and ending Iran's proxy support to groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis. Now, the Iranians are calling for guarantees of no further attacks, full sanctions relief, war compensation, and a new payment system for the Strait of Hormuz, along with the removal of regional U.S. bases.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv.
And as it is taking place, the Iranians are still launching ballistic missiles and cruise missiles toward Israel and Gulf countries.
And ahead of tonight's Trump deadline, Iran state media is calling on all young people, athletes and artists, professors and students to form a human chain around the power plants the president's threatening to blow up. President Trump called the Artemis II crew, congratulating the astronauts for their fly around the far side of the moon.
And breaking the all-time record for the farthest distance from planet Earth.
The president telling the crew they're paving the way for future missions.
We'll plant our flag once again, and this time we won't just leave footprints. We'll establish a permanent presence on the moon, and we'll push on to Mars.
During the lunar flyby, the crew lost contact for about 40 minutes as expected. They'll return Friday, splashing down off the coast of San Diego. Hail to the victors. Michigan fans were singing that last night, celebrating a college basketball championship.
For the first time in 37 years, the Wolverines win the national title.
The final call on TBS after Michigan won the NCAA men's tournament title game for the first time since 1989, beating UConn 69-63. America's listening to...
Good morning. We've got 30 degrees in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Colder, more clouds than sun today with highs in the upper 30s. Civil rights trial, the deadly 21 police shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo is underway in Chicago. A lawyer for Toledo's family spoke as proceedings started on Monday.
We look forward to presenting the facts and evidence to a jury and having a jury decide whether this shooting was justified.
Wrongful death lawsuit filed after Officer Eric Stillman shot and killed the teen while chasing him into an alley in Little Village in March of 2021. Lawyers were in court Monday for pretrial motions. Jury selection expected to start next week, and opening statements are scheduled for April 20th. An Indiana woman accused of killing 3 family members in Crate Township will remain in custody as a judge ordered Jenna Strubble to be detained. Strubble's charged with first-degree murder in the killings of Jacob Lambert and his parents. All 3 were found dead March 23rd. Prosecutors say Strubble shot and killed Lambert, the father of her children, in the back of the head while giving him a massage. She then killed Lambert's parents because she didn't want them to have custody of their children. One person recovering following a fire at a high-rise apartment in suburban Park Forest. The blaze broke out at the Juniper Tower. The fire was contained to one apartment on the 10th floor. The victim was sent to the hospital for evaluation. State lawmakers are considering a ban on no-knock warrants. Anjanette Young is a social worker and was a victim of a botched raid in February of 2019 when officers forced her to stand handcuffed and naked as they searched her home. She has urged lawmakers to pass the act that would ban no-knock warrants in all but certain situations. News: the service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees a lack of respect.
As we've got ICE at our nation's airports, Congress still deadlocked. They went home Friday. They went on vacation, which is one of the most remarkable acts of thumbing their nose at the American people I've ever seen. The truth is, the Democrats don't want success in funding DHS.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Your financial future deserves more than just a financial strategy. It deserves a dedicated resource. Meet Michelle Ashute with West Point Financial Group, a Mass Mutual firm. With almost 2 decades of experience, Michelle builds lifelong relationships, guiding families through legacy strategies, from grandparents down to grandkids, helping people secure their financial independence. Michelle Ashute is focused on needs, not just numbers, and that means retirement planning, life insurance, and estate planning strategies. Whether preparing for college, retirement, or protecting your business, Michelle's needs-based approach helps you prepare for life's biggest moments. Start Start building your financial future today. Call Michelle at 224-499-3665. That's 224-499-3665. Michelle Shute of West Point Financial Group, helping you earn, learn, and secure your tomorrow. Local firms are sales offices of Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. Mass Mutual, Springfield, Massachusetts, 01111-001, and are not subsidiaries of Mass Mutual or its affiliated companies. Michelle Shute is a registered representative of and offers securities through MML Investor Services, LLC, member SIPC. Supervisory office located at 30 South Wacker Drive, Suite 2700, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 14 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose this morning. We've got 17 in, 20 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Already stop and go, though, on the Tri-State northbound between Cermak Road and the Ike. Traveling on the Ike, it's just 13 minutes in both directions from Wolf to the O Post Office. 26 in, 22 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. 15 in, 10 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Just a slight tap on the brakes in the express lanes inbound between 35th Street and the Stevenson. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and chilly with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline that President Trump imposed on the Iranians over the weekend. They have until 8 p.m. tonight to come to terms with a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And actually, you know, some of the language here that's being used is a bit imprecise. The strait is not closed. Actually, maritime traffic is picking up through the strait, but it is not been restored to pre-military strikes levels. And somebody texted to 847, doesn't make sense how we've decimated the military capacity, but yet they can still close the strait and hold it hostage. Well, by decimating the military capacity, eliminating their Air Force and Navy, which we've effectively done, according to CENTCOM commander. So I'm going off Admiral Bradley Cooper. I don't have first-person knowledge, but if we can't trust the Admiral, then we've got an issue. We've got bigger issues. So let's assume that it's correct, and by all accounts, that certainly stands to reason. The issue with the Strait is the uncertainty. They don't control the Strait like they have command control of it. They control the Strait in the sense that they have the power for one-off strikes, and no shipping company or country wants to be the victim of that one-off strike. And so until it's completely secure and there's, an order to it, there are those reticent to ship their products, particularly energy products, since that's, 20% of the oil that runs through the Strait is the central issue, right? You don't have to dominate it to make it uncertain enough to debilitate that passage enough that it has real-world economic impacts, and that's what's happening. But it's very complicated. Walter Russell Mead has a good piece here, too. I mean, in addition to the Wall Street Journal reporting over the weekend that the irony, not that this was Trump's intent, but the irony of the war in Iran is to strengthen America's economy, being an energy exporter, relative to, in particular, our erstwhile European allies, relative to, for example, India, where, as WRM writes, the country has sustained a serious economic setback from high energy prices and disruptions in shipping and travel. And, everybody wants to look at this from their own sort of conclusion about what should or shouldn't be done, and ignore that there are positives and negatives for many of the parties that are germane to the discussion. For example, as Walter Russell Mead writes, the Russians, oh my gosh, we're, increasing the price of oil, and that benefits the Russians, and that will allow them to not only continue to ravage Ukraine, but be a meddlesome partner with the Chinese Communist Party, and maybe, depending on what the regime looks like upon closure here, the Iranians. Well, except that this is very much in doubt. Russia may have the most to lose in the war, next to the actual belligerents, writes Mead. The fuel shortage has boosted Russians' oil earnings at a critical moment, and a longer war will mean more demand for Russian oil and gas at higher prices in more markets around the world. Beyond that, Russia's interests are more complex. Ukraine's ability to sell its drone expertise to the Gulf Arab countries must have been a disagreeable shock to the Kremlin. The increasing bitterness between Iran and its Arab neighbors also creates problems for Russia's attempts to maintain its deep ties to Iran while building cooperations with countries like UAE. Meanwhile, the risk of alienating the Trump administration is growing. The Kremlin may get some emotional satisfaction from retaliation against American support for Ukraine by helping Iran target American facilities in the Gulf, but the cost could be high. From the Russian perspective, he goes on, the worst possible end to the war would be a collapse of the Iranian regime and an end to Iran's long isolation from the West. This would deprive Moscow of an ally and reduce the perceived value of a Russian alliance among the world's despots. It would also seriously damage Putin's most cherished goal, the restoration of Russian power across the former Soviet Union. So the idea that, we're losing and Russia's gaining and China, this is the narrative of the myopic observer, the person suffering from some sort of TDS / darkness of the soul, reflexively anti-American, a story they want to tell, but a story that really doesn't hold up under more robust analysis. In fact, retired General Frank McKenzie on Face the Nation over the weekend had this to say.
They have the ability to inflict damage They do not have the ability to gain mass effects. And by mass effects, I mean firing many, many dozens of rockets, missiles, or drones. I think that capability has been eroded steadily since this campaign began. And frankly, at about plus 30 days into this campaign, I think if you're at Central Command, you've got to be reasonably satisfied with where you are right now. In fact, Ed, when I was the CENTCOM commander, if you had given me this situation at plus 30 days, I would have rejected it as being too optimistic by far. So we've had good effect. Our effects are going to continue. It's going to be increasingly harder for them to launch missiles and rockets. We may not get to zero for a while, and I think there's still some time ahead, but everyone realizes that. But I think we're on track here. This campaign is moving very effectively, and I believe the pace will pick up every day.
Former CENTCOM Commander Frank McKenzie, if you would have given me this scenario at plus 30 days, I would have said that is too optimistic in terms of where we would be. You know, and we talked about this last week. The Iranian economy, the wherewithal of whatever constitutes this regime in Tehran, is limited, and it's also something that is diminishing with each passing day. The idea that it's sort of endlessly resilient, that it's like a starfish can just keep regrowing appendages that get cut off. No. So as WRM, Walter Russell Mead, writes, whatever one thinks of Mr. Trump and his decision to initiate hostilities, a quick and comprehensive American victory offers the best hope for a peaceful future in the Gulf and beyond. And that's, I think, what Trump is trying to borrow the general's word, effect in short order within that 2 to 3 week extension he gave himself last week in that remark to the nation. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text on this matter. We'll be talking a little bit later in the program to Tony Schaefer about this in more detail, too, and getting his perspective. I did want to fold in just what some of the key administration officials, including the president, had to say yesterday about this incredible rescue of the weapons service officer. I mean, this reads, as I'm sure everybody knows by now, like Marcus Luttrell. It's like Lone Survivor 2, including with the, and I haven't seen this confirmed, with the prospective help of Iranians. One other note here, you know, the embarrassment that was noted by Hegseth and Ratcliffe and others yesterday. The embarrassment, the Iranians got fooled by a CIA misinformation campaign that gave our special forces and other operators more time and bandwidth to get to the airmen that they rescued. And the call for Iranians to, work with the regime to help locate this person appear to have fallen on deaf ears, those calls. Meanwhile, it is plausible to potentially likely that Iranians on the ground near where that airman went down and in or around that ridge that he ultimately scaled may have provided material support to him, because that it, at least in some of the some pockets of the general area in which he was scrambling to get to higher ground, there is resistance to the Iranian regime. So the regime gets fooled. That's embarrassing. We come in, we take them out. We take our own planes that were stalled out, that couldn't get off the ground, so they don't get access. The Iranians don't help the regime. The Iranians may have helped the Americans. That is not a particularly impressive show of strength by this regime. John Ratcliffe on the CIA's operations, or CIA's role in the rescue operation.
We deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected. For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen. On Saturday morning, we achieved our primary objective by finding and providing confirmation that one of America's best and bravest was alive and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA. That confirmation was relayed by Secretary Hegseth to the President, and the operation quickly moved to the execution phase. Following the successful exfiltration on Saturday night, our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission.
Yeah, I guess the deception campaign was to put the word out that they had found the airman and they were moving him out on the ground, when in point of fact they hadn't yet gotten to him, and it was the rescue was coming from the air, and that was part of the reason it worked. I mean, just remarkable what our military is able to accomplish. Pete Hegseth, he used the most miraculous metaphor you can use.
He sent a message: God is good. In that moment of isolation and danger, his faith and fighting spirit shone through. You see, shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn, all home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good. Despite incoming fire and unforgiving conditions, our troops brought every American home. No American lives were lost. We leave no man behind, and that is not luck.
And going back to retired CENTCOM Commander General Frank McKenzie, something he said about the American military culture on Face the Nation I thought was really nicely said, quite profound.
So it took just under 48 hours to find the missing weapons systems officer after the jet they were in went down in a remote and mountainous area of southwestern Iran. The weapons officer was hiding in a mountainous crevice, we're told by a senior administration official. What's your assessment of how the search and rescue operation went?
So I think I'd draw two lessons from it, Ed. First of all, the excellence of the joint force, our ability to rapidly pivot to look for a downed air crewman. We train for this endlessly. It's a part of every time we send air crew over enemy territory. We have detailed, elaborate plans to go get them. It's a very basic part of who we are as American fighting men and women. So that plan swung into action. I think it was executed pretty effectively. As always, you've got somebody on the ground, maybe injured. They got to get to a position where they can hide until you can get to them. All that seemed to work out very well. And, you know, we did, in fact, lose a couple of aircraft in that mission. But I would just tell you, it takes a year to build an aircraft. It takes 200 years to build a military tradition where you don't leave anybody behind.
It takes a year to build an aircraft. It takes 200 years to build a military tradition where you don't leave anybody behind. Amen to that. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
There.
Ben, what are you doing?
I'm setting up the Art of Options sectional, Nicole.
That's a popular pick at Penny Mustard.
A reclining sectional with thousands of combinations. Of course it's popular, Arvid.
Okay, I've seen lots of different configurations with the Art of Options sectional, but never like this.
Yeah, I thought it would be neat to create a massive sectional that wraps around the showroom. So if someone gets tired, they always have somewhere to sit.
The Art of Options is powered by a rechargeable battery, so it can literally go anywhere.
Look at all the different arms, bases, and backs.
And high-density foam seats.
So comfortable.
The options are limitless.
So now that you've created the world's largest sectional, what's next?
I'm going to build the world's longest coffee table.
The Art of Options reclining sectional starting at $92.65 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
If moving safely around your home is a concern, you deserve clear answers, not a sales pitch. Access will help you improve home accessibility with practical solutions like lifts, grab bars, and home modifications, designed to fit your home, your needs, and budget. Experienced professionals will take the time to explain your options so you can make an informed decision. If staying safe and comfortable in your home matters to you, start with a free in-home consultation. Call Access at 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Have you seen my husband?
No.
My husband is hot.
Okay.
And he just keeps getting hotter and hotter.
I'm sorry to hear that.
What?
But I have good news.
You do?
Hasselus Mattress is home to a variety of cool gel mattresses, including Tempur-Pedic.
No, I mean he's hot.
When he sleeps, I can relate. But our cool gel mattresses sleep an average of 10 degrees cooler than traditional mattresses. So he'll be cool as a cucumber.
Okay, but...
And right now, get 48 months interest-free financing on Tempur-Pedic with approved credit.
Well, that's great, but...
Plus, free next-day delivery and setup, free removal of your old mattress, and a $300 MasterCard gift card with your new Tempur-Pedic.
Hold on. You're saying I can cool down with a new Tempur-Pedic with no interest for 48 months and a $300 gift card?
What do you think?
I think that's pretty hot.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
A revolution in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence obsolete. 3 companies are quietly building a $1 trillion triangle to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Investment guru George Gilder has his finger on the 3 companies whose technology could change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I do want to give the other side of it, though, too. I mean, I characterize it, but hear from the horse's mouth, one of the horses, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson reacting to this 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline that Trump imposed, saying...
And now here's our president, not even a month and a half into the conflict, which we are not winning, by the way, because the Straits of Hormuz are not open. There's one way to keep track. That's the measurement. Saying that we're going to use our military to kill the civilians of this country who didn't choose the war. They got nothing to do with it. They're like civilians everywhere. At which point you have to ask, why would we do it anyway? Well, there are a bunch of possible reasons, but the darkest of all is for the sake of doing it. For the sake of killing, for the sake of exercising the most obvious form of power, which is extinguishing life. That's why we're doing it. The thrill is in the killing. The power is in the killing. The exertion of force is the point. You don't want to think that. But after a message like this, what could possibly be the reason?
So Trump is just thrill killing at this point, according to Tucker Carlson. That's what this is. You know what he sounds like? The killing is the point. He sounds like these professional agitators and boomer hysterics on the streets of major cities telling us that or in governor's mansions in places like Illinois, telling us that the point of ICE is to be cruel. The point of ICE is to hurt people, kill people even. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like a loon is what he sounds like. First of all, his premise is false. There was no suggestion that there would be indiscriminate killing of civilians. And I'm sure that it would be inappropriate to go into details about exactly when, where, and how with the concern over striking sensitive targets militarily that also have civilian use, but they're still inanimate targets that provide stability for the regime. But to hit those targets with while trying to minimize civilian casualties. But no, we're not trying to do that because the killing is the point. This is all a thrill kill to show everybody that he's got his finger on the button. He can do what he wants. Is that what you think Trump is doing? And by the way, it goes beyond that, even, as incredible as that is to say, in terms of what Tucker Carlson thinks Trump is actually going to do in pursuit of his thrill killing.
So if you reach the end of your conventional power, where does that leave you? Oh, with non-conventional power. What's that a euphemism for? Nuclear weapons. And the effects of that hardly need to be explained. Well, they can't be fully known because modern nuclear weapons have never been used. But you can just draw obvious conclusions, like life in Iran, not possible. So you wipe out a country of 92 million people.
So that's what Trump is going to do. He's going to wipe out a country of 92 million people with nuclear weapons. Is that something you believe? I'm sorry, who said we have reached the end of our capacity with conventional weapons? Hardly. Because this the Strait of Hormuz is not open after 30 days, and despite more than 10,000 combat missions and effectively neutralizing the Navy and the Air Force of this leading state sponsor of terror, spoke in the wheel of horribles with China and Russia, greatly diminishing. Where is that now? Again, I'm going off the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Brad Cooper. Is it diminishing their ballistic missile program by 75%? Is it diminishing their drone program by 2/3? And what of their ability to replace those sites and that actual weaponry because of the defense industrial complex targets that have been hit? And what about the status of the IRGC, which is fractured? And what about the status of the Iranian economy, which is in free fall? We've reached the end of our ability to use conventional power 30 days into this? I mean, that's just not true. So you start from wild premises that have no foundation and you draw wild conclusions. I mean, I guess it's great for Tucker's podcast, but it's not really part of a substantive conversation on the matter at this point, I would argue. All right, coming up at 6:36. Do we have an Obamacare premium spike problem or not? Last time we checked in with C.S. Tucker, we did. Some are arguing that it's much ado about nothing. We'll get straight dope, and feel free to share your real-world experiences as well. C.S. Tucker, healthinsurancementors.com at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. 31 degrees in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson in the QC Kinetics newsroom. More clouds and sun today with a high in the upper 30s. An Indiana woman accused of killing 3 family members in Crete Township will remain in custody. A Will County judge ordered that Jenna Strubble be detained. Strubble charged with first-degree murder in the killings of Jacob Lambert and his parents. Apparently, Strubble shot and killed Lambert, the father of her children, in the back of the head while she was giving him a massage. And then she killed his parents, Stacy and Patrick Ford, because she didn't want them to have custody of their children. A warning about a scam involving fake court notices. Officials say letters posing as hearing notices are being mailed out, telling people they owe money and must pay immediately. The documents often have a QR code and threats of legal action. Cook County authorities say the court does not send notices this way and will never demand payment through unsolicited links. News the service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business. It's a calling. Family-owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship you can trust. Visit SteinerHomesLTD.com, Northwest Indiana's leading home builder. Steiner Homes. Love where you live. A check of the roads coming up next on AM 560, The Answer.
Alex Marlowe explains the thought process.
This is the whole thing, is they regard those that enforce our federal law as lawless. This is the gaslighting the Democrats do. They tell you that the people who are tasked with enforcing some of our most important laws, our immigration and custom laws, those are the ones who are violating the law. The lying is just at a whole new level at this moment in Donald Trump's administration.
The Alex Marlowe Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Can you give our listeners some examples of how you've helped clients over the years?
A couple of your listeners called in. They're a married couple. They're in their 60s. They were really concerned and tired of trying to manage their own investments. So their accounts were quite big, but they felt like they needed a little help with it so they didn't screw up at this stage of the game. So they couldn't afford to lose any money in the market moving forward, and trying to manage retirement on a fixed income was kind of a daunting task for them. So with about $1.5 million in 401k savings and other stocks and bonds, we rearranged their portfolio so that they had guaranteed future income, less volatility in the market, and of course tax savings. So now they have this peace of mind because they know that they have a protect and grow blueprint.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 15 in, 13 out on the Edens from Lake Hook to Montrose. 18 in, 21 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Already jammed on the northbound Tri-State between the Reagan Memorial and the Ike. It's 15 in, 13 out on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 28 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 21. 19 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. And there is an accident on 8094 westbound on the entrance ramp to get onto the southbound side of Torrance Avenue. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less now. That's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises. All on Verizon's 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found straightforward prices, exclusively at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight, expect partly to mostly cloudy skies and chilly conditions with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Remember when Democrats claimed that Congress's failure to extend the pandemic Obamacare subsidies would cause masses of Americans to lose insurance and premiums to skyrocket? Well, that hasn't happened according to new data from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. That's where Dr. Oz is. The Wall Street Journal opines on the topic. 23 million consumers signed up during this year's open enrollment period, 1.2 million fewer than last year, but still 6.8 million more than in 2023, nearly twice as many in 2021. Many who dropped had previously been improperly enrolled or received subsidies they didn't qualify for. CMS said it canceled subsidies for nearly 1.5 million people found to be ineligible, mainly because they were concurrently enrolled in Medicaid or had not submitted income records for previous years or had been enrolled in plans without their consent. The average monthly premium payment for all consumers who signed up on the federal exchange is $137. Average monthly premium payment. That's up from $85 last year, but lower than in 2021 when it was $143. For the 90% or so of consumers receiving subsidies, the average monthly payment is $73, which is about the same as it was in 2022. Hardly a great hardship reduction. They go on. Notably, the biggest cost increases have been in the 20 or so mostly Democrat-controlled states that run their own insurance exchanges. Premium payments in these states are more than double than in the rest of the country and jumped $266 a month on average from $179 last year, in part because of more insurance mandates in those failed states like Illinois, where you have to cover, transing and in vitro fertilization and those sorts of things. Whether, again, you want to do it, but to mandate it with respect to health insurance policies, well, more mandates, price goes up. So that hue and cry that we were sharing back the first part of this year with C.S. Tucker hasn't really materialized, so saith the data from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. Although, interestingly, Chris Jacobs, who's a policy wonk with Juniper Research Group, took note of a letter that Ron Wyden, the ranking Democrat, the socialist senator on the Senate Finance Committee, and his fellow neo-Marxists sent outlining their healthcare principles. And if you don't like those, they have others. To make healthcare simpler for families, sure. And what it really gets down to, as he goes through it, phrases like get rid of junk insurance plans and the like, take on corporate greed. All they're really talking about is trying to wall people into Obamacare. Limit your choices. And trying to fix a problem they created when it comes to big insurance gaming the medical loss ratio that hides their profits, and in order to ensure those dollars are spent on providing care and lowering costs. Well, they're trying to, again, address a problem they created, right? Which is what government does, as Groucho Marx famously said, paraphrasing, right? Government creates the problem and then misapplies the wrong remedy. Well, that's what they've been doing for the better part of a decade and a half with Obamacare. So let's get this all figured out. This is in theory for C.S. Tucker, because he is the founder and principal broker for healthinsurancementors.com. And I'm sure it's not theory for a lot of the people listening in terms of what you have actually experienced with respect to health insurance premiums. So happy to take take the impacts that you're feeling as well. Give us a call, 312-642-5600, or text there. C.S. Tucker, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan.
So, what's the deal? Do we have a crisis here where people are getting blitzed, or is it something that's, basically de minimis, particularly for those getting subsidies?
This piece in the Wall Street Journal had to be written by someone in the Trump administration running cover for the fact that they have not addressed any reforms to Obamacare, any legislation as an alternative to Obamacare, which we had perfectly designed back in President Trump's first administration, and of course, which was promptly killed by John McCain. But you cannot take the aftermath of the largest premium increases in my 31-year career, the largest one-year premium increases in the under 65 health insurance marketplace in my 31-year career, and then discuss who's left in the exchanges. You have to understand that this is all created by Democrat policy. During COVID, they passed the American Rescue Plan in 2021. That took the eligibility for federal health insurance subsidies, known as an advanced premium tax credits, up from, for example, 400% of the federal poverty level. For an individual, that's $63,840. For a married couple, that's $86,560 this year. And they raised those eligibility amounts all the way up to 900% above the federal poverty level under the American Rescue Plan. That was supposed to be a temporary fix to get through the ridiculous lockdowns where people couldn't work, to help people for a very short period of time. And then they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which did not reduce inflation. But what it did do is extend those enhanced federal health insurance subsidies all the way until December 31st, 2025. And it was on that day, when those enhanced subsidies ended, that everyone who was enjoying those federal health insurance subsidies, couples making $250,000 a year, individuals making $168,000 to $180,000 a year, lost all of those federal subsidies and now could not get a federal subsidy where it stands today if they earned more than $63,840 as a single tax filer and $86,560 as a married couple. That is millions and millions of Americans across the country, not just in Illinois. And all of those people, many of which are my clients, received the largest one-year premium health insurance care increases in the history of health insurance in this country. So to ignore all of that, not include that in the piece, and then just dissect those who are lucky enough who are left to actually receive advanced premium tax credits, which again are only those earning less than $63,840 as a single tax filer and $86,560 as a married couple filing jointly, is propaganda. But it is running cover for an administration that has not tackled healthcare policy, and they need to do it as soon as possible because people are paying the biggest premiums ever, those who are off the exchange, and that's millions of Americans.
So that the above 63,000, for example, that's why I got this text from 708. 50-year-old woman, single. I pay $1,100 a month. Bronze PPO Blue Cross. Yes, that doesn't sound like the average monthly premium payment for all consumers who sign up at the exchange is $137.
My wife and I paid $1,841 for the cheapest bronze plan, for which we each have a $10,600 deductible. I mean, give me a break.
And what is that up for you? I mean, for you of all people, what is that up for you year over year?
Oh, 22%.
Uh-huh.
It's just crazy, right? So what they should be discussing is all the people who are paying for these wonderfully low premiums for those who are lucky enough to still receive advanced premium tax credits, which is a fraction in percentage-wise of those who are receiving it in the last 5 years. So they're just simply discussing those who are left on the exchanges who are lucky enough to get advanced premium tax credits. The rest of us, of course, are funding those advanced premium tax credits, and the rest of us received the largest one-year premium increase in my 31-year career.
So is this another story of the middle getting squeezed from both ends? You're under 63,000 for a single, or under, what'd you say, 85,000 for a household couple?
86.5, yeah.
86. Then you're getting subsidized, and if you're over a certain threshold, you're not getting subsidized, but you obviously have more wherewithal to pay. And then if you're right in the middle, then you're getting blitzed.
Absolutely, yeah. Anybody above those numbers are paying the biggest health insurance premiums they've ever paid, the biggest I've ever seen. Right. So to put out a piece like this is just cover for an administration that is not tackling an issue they need to tackle. and that is health insurance reform. They have a perfect set of guidelines to follow. It almost passed. The American Healthcare Plan was the best legislation I've ever read. It was killed at 2 a.m. by one person, John McCain. They don't have to rewrite policy. They don't have to get a think tank together. They don't have to contact K Street for advice, or even me. They just need to bring that legislation back to the floor and pass it.
Well, based on how they're doing with the Save America Act, I'm not terribly optimistic.
I'm not either.
Yeah, and so if that doesn't happen, then obviously you're feeling it this year, and people are going to be paying it through this year, and that's going to certainly inform how they feel about their economic wherewithal going into November. But even just projecting this out, so is this what people can expect in terms of these sorts of spikes in this bastardized backdoor government takeover of healthcare for years to come until there is a fix like you've described?
Yes, I don't think we're going to see massive increases like we saw in the 2025-2026 cycle, because there are no more subsidies for anybody earning above those amounts, right? And so those people have been forced now to move from PPO plans to HMO plans just to be able to afford it. Now they have to get a primary care physician. They have to get a permission to see a specialist. They don't have national coverage. There are inherent problems with HMOs. But there are so many people that were forced to move from a PPO to an HMO because the enhanced subsidies expired. So they just couldn't afford anything else, and an HMO is still vastly superior to being uninsured.
But at the end of the day, you still have the people not being subsidized by definition, subsidizing those who are being subsidized. So why would the situation materially improve for those not being subsidized?
It's never going to improve for those not being subsidized. The only difference is they're not going to see massive increases, one-year increases like they did this cycle. And that is because there are no more enhanced subsidies. They're gone. And so everybody's going to be paying inherently higher premiums, but not massive one-year increases like we saw this last cycle.
Yeah, I see. And the situation in Illinois specifically, because you brought this to our attention when we spoke to you a few weeks back about the exchange that Pritzker set up because he wanted even more mandates than on insurance policies sold in Illinois, and people had paid for insurance coverage that they literally did not get as of like the end of January, maybe it was the beginning of February even. Where does that stand in Illinois?
So that site, getcovered.illinois.gov, is still the worst functioning website I've ever had the displeasure of using. You'd think in the off cycle, when the exchanges are closed and the mad rush is over, they would take time and effort to make the site work better. It doesn't. It still crashes on average between 18 and 20 times trying to complete one application. It's just a disaster, and they're doing nothing to improve it. But we unfortunately are now all forced to use that exchange because the administration that runs the state of Illinois and the Democrat majority wants to ensure that, as the article did accurately state, gender-affirming care is still covered in the state of Illinois. There are other mandates like no deductible for abortions. That's a mandate in the state of Illinois. There are mandates that are added every year. Sometimes it's 5. Sometimes this last cycle it's 8 to 10. And many of them I disagree with. But it is not those mandates that is causing massive increases. The number of transgender people in the state of Illinois is a very small percentage. The number of surgeries is a very small percentage. It is not that that's causing the massive increases. The massive increases are due to the Democrat policies that put in place massive subsidies and then took them all away on December 31 of 2025.
But people who paid for the coverage now are at least getting their coverage in terms of the experience your clients are having? Okay.
Oh, yes. It's taken months in some cases. They had to sit behind a ticket number, wait for the bureaucracy that runs that website to finally fix the errors. There were people that didn't have any health insurance into February, into March. They created 2 new enrollment periods, extending all the way to the end of March to ensure that all of the mistakes that were made were finally corrected. And God willing, all of them were corrected. I don't know if they all were. There were so many tickets and so many problems with that website.
All right. Sorry, I got you all worked out. Go outside, feed the birds, relax.
I need it, yes.
C.S. Tucker, C. Stephen Tucker, founder and principal broker, healthinsurancementors.com. C.S., thanks as always.
Thanks, Tim.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Platform safety is so important in your industrial facility. You need to keep personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. Experience one problem with your platforms, and you could be facing costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a metal fabricator, I know the importance of keeping your workplace safe. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor, uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment including steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our team of union building trades mechanics can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality steel products, and install it all, creating a safer workplace environment.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your building. See what else they can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Was a Japanese American who in the summer of 1941 left for Japan to help sick relatives. After Pearl Harbor, without a passport, with her parents now in an internment camp, she was trapped overseas and worked for a radio station to survive. Known as one of the roughly 20 women who broadcast Japanese propaganda in English, U.S. servicemen collectively labeled them Tokyo Rose. Yet Toguri actually called herself the Orphan Anne and remained loyal to the U.S., playing American songs and smuggling goods to POWs. Despite this, in 1949, without evidence, the U.S. convicted her on a charge of treason, which was baseless, and she served over 6 years in federal prison. She was later pardoned by President Gerald Ford after it was found that witness tampering led to her Star Chamber prosecution. Recently, Gerald Ford's namesake aircraft carrier, the Navy's newest, suffered a major fire that displaced over 600 sailors. Along with a new Enviro vacuum toilet system that already didn't work well, the Ford recently left the Middle East for repairs, but still remains on an extended tour of duty which will likely break the record of 11 months. The fire is still under investigation to determine if there was any sabotage. Who knows? This conflict is unpopular. But the Ford is not the first carrier to have a fire. The USS Forrestal had at least 4 for various reasons, and long deployments add stress too, as the USS Kitty Hawk faced in 1972 once racial tensions on board erupted. Wars can do funny things to those not killed or maimed by it. Eva Toguri got caught up in what must have been a psychological maelstrom for her. In 1862, new Irish immigrants rioted in New York City in response to a draft into the Union Army for a war they felt was not their fight. Speaking of the Emerald Isle, fears of conscription during the Great War were a reason for the Easter Uprising of 1916. The lesson here is that the longer this war with Iran goes on, the more social upheaval we will face in our country, and the more individual rights will be stomped upon as Leviathan imposes itself.
Always a concern, no question about it. Always a concern, and past this prologue, I can see the point. By the way, on the toilet thing, did you see the Artemis 2 is having toilet problems too? So
the Artemis, yeah. I mean, what are they going to do up there? Dump it off on the moon, I guess, right?
I don't pretend to know how those things work, but
gives a new meaning to Dark Side of the Moon, doesn't it?
Hi-oh. So what is the thing that concerns you most about tonight's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline, Frank?
Well, I mean, if you bomb Iran's electrical system, you're just going to disrupt all these civilian, needs, essentially, and create a migrant crisis, all kinds of different things. I mean, how much longer is this war going to go on? Are we an empire or are we a republic? And Senator Curtis of Utah brought up something interesting the other day, talking about how ultimately it is the Congress who has to vote on whether we go to war, and they haven't done that since World War II. We talk about that in class all the time, how our Congress has basically abdicated its responsibilities for 80 years.
Yeah, Frank, we got to leave it there. Thank you as always. Appreciate it. We'll post it. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's bombing before a potential bombardment. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. has hit more military targets on Iran's Karg Island in the Persian Gulf near the Strait of Hormuz, with sources telling Fox's Jennifer Griffin bunkers were hit along with radar and ammunition storage, as President Trump's deadline for Iran's down to 12 hours.
Where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition.
And unless Iran stops blocking oil and other shipping in that strait, the president says the U.S. will also blow up all of Iran's bridges.
A statement on Iran state media calls on all young people, athletes, artists, students, and professors to form human chains around power plants ahead of President Trump's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline.
Fox's Chris Foster.
Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, posts on X that 14 million Iranians have registered to sacrifice their lives to defend Iran and that he's willing to do the same. A Revolutionary Guard general also urges parents to send their children to man checkpoints, which have been repeatedly targeted in airstrikes.
The Artemis II crew still 240,000 miles away from Earth after a record day in space, flying around the far side of the moon, taking a lot of pictures.
Astronauts Reed Wiseman, Jeremy Hansen, Christina Cook, and Victor Glover rewrote history. Hansen said,
"We do so in honoring the extraordinary efforts and feats of our predecessors in human space exploration."
It eclipsed the miles traveled by Apollo 13 56 years ago.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. Days before an election in Hungary, Vice President Vance has gone there to support Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and Vance moments ago said,
"What the United States and Hungary together represent under Viktor's leadership and under President Trump's leadership is the defense of Western civilization."
They're going to the polls this morning in Georgia to choose a new congressman to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Trump supporter turned Trump critic who resigned in January. The president hopes the House seat stays red, endorsing Republican Clay Fuller, who faces Democrat Sean Harris. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 31 degrees in Chicago and AM 560. The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson of the QC Kinetics newsroom. A colder day today with highs in the upper 30s. There's a measure that would restrict certain no-knock warrants on criminal suspects in Illinois.
The city of Chicago settled a lawsuit with Anjanette Young for $2.9 million after Young was handcuffed while police searched her home in 2019, only to learn later they had the wrong address. Young told the Illinois House Judiciary Criminal Committee on Monday there is lasting harm when people feel violated by those in power.
It erodes trust, not just in law enforcement, but in government. In justice and others.
Ed Sullivan of the Illinois State Rifle Association expressed support for House Bill 1611 to ban most no-knock warrants.
These warrants are dangerous. These warrants cause problems. These warrants cause deaths.
The bill has more than 50 opponents, including sheriff's offices, police departments, and law enforcement associations. I'm Chip Talamonte.
State Court of Appeals is ordering a new trial in the wrongful death case of a barber who was killed by a Chicago cop in 2018. The ruling comes 3 years after a Cook County jury ruled in favor of the police officers in a civil lawsuit filed by the family of Harith Augustus. Augustus was shot and killed by Officer Dylan Hawley in the South Shore neighborhood. The appellate court found that the lawyers for the city of Chicago improperly used pretrial challenges to exclude 2 black potential jurors. Cook County State's Attorney's Office declined to pursue criminal charges against Hawley. News is a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business. It's a calling. Family owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship you can trust. Visit SteinerHomesLTD.com, Northwest Indiana's leading home builder. Steiner Homes, love where you live. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Looking for a powerful way to support your immune system? Now's your chance to win a free bottle of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail made with 23 science-backed ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and natural nutraceuticals designed to support your body's natural defenses. 10 winners will each receive a free bottle. Hey, don't miss your shot to boost your wellness routine. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/immune. That's 560theanswer.com/IMMUNE.
Your family and friends love you, but they hate seeing you in pain all the time, especially heading into vacation season. Allow me to recommend my friends at QC Kinetics. They will take care of your pain and let you go right on with your day. It's that easy. Listen, if you answer yes to more than one of these questions, then you're a great candidate. Do you have consistent joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back? Does pain rob you from a good night's sleep? Are you missing work or saying no to activities you love? Are you taking painkillers? If this is you, then today could be the day to turn that corner and get real relief. With 5 Chicagoland locations and weekend appointments, QC Kinetics treatments are easy, done in the office. Consultations are free. I've seen the results in person myself, and I personally recommend QC Kinetics. So don't wait. This will be the most meaningful thing you can do for yourself and those that love you. Call now 312-827-6261. That number, 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
When your money gets tight, you have to make some tough choices. Do you pay the mortgage, pay the credit cards, or pay the IRS? For lots of people, taxes get pushed aside until the letters start, then the threats, then the action, bank levies, wage garnishments. You can stop worrying. The IRS is offering new opportunities to help you resolve your back taxes, and Guardian Tax knows how it all works. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, you may qualify to reduce your total tax debt by a very significant amount, even if you're years behind on filing. But timing matters, and so does who you trust. Guardian Tax knows the system and how to work it in your favor. They step in, deal with the IRS directly, and fight to protect what you've worked so hard to earn. In today's economy, you can't afford to lose more. Call Guardian Tax now for a free confidential consultation. 800-404-6851. 800-404-6851. Don't wait for the IRS to make the next move. Make yours first. Call now. 800-404-6851.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed northbound on the Tri-State between 8094 and Lincoln Oasis, all because of a collision taking down 3 lanes. Now, on the Edens, that's doing great. 15 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, 28 in both directions on the Kennedy, from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, but we're stop and go on the eastbound Jane Addams between Meacham Road and Route 53. Now, the Ike is 29 minutes in, 19 out from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 43 in, 24 out on the Stevenson. From Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 24 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, and stop and go on Route 53 northbound between the Jane Addams and Kirchhoff Road. News traffic is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight, expect partly to mostly cloudy skies and chilly conditions with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline Trump has imposed on the Iranians. You shall at least come to terms on an agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Reopen is sort of a generic term. It's not closed per se, but it's not comfortable for pre-Iran war traffic either. So the handle is opening. You shall come to an agreement to reopen it, or this will happen.
We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation. And you know what? If that's the case, the last thing we want to do is start with power plants, which are among the most expensive thing, and bridges. You saw the bridge. The bridge went. We were very close to a deal. And then I got a call from Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, and J.D. saying, I think they're breaking the deal. I said, tell them that's okay. Don't worry about it. But tell them to look out their window and watch. And within 45 minutes, I gave the order to knock out the biggest bridge. I gave the order, knock out the biggest bridge in, I believe, the Middle East, but the biggest bridge in Iran. And within 10 minutes after I gave that order, that bridge was over. So do I want to do that? No. Do I want to destroy their infrastructure? No. It will take them 100 years to rebuild. Right now, if we left today, it would take them 20 years to rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was. And the only way they're going to be able to rebuild their country is to utilize the genius of the United States.
Well, if it's to utilize the genius and money of the United States, and doesn't seem like we necessarily would be so inclined, at least this president, so inclined to scramble those resources and that ingenuity if he took out power plants and surface transportation, choke points, and so forth. But one wonders, I wonder, if perhaps the Iranians won't respond, but our allies will. And this is, I wouldn't say a ruse, but it's a way to goad our NATO allies in particular to make amends for their lethargy in coming to support America when America asked for their support. This was Trump mau-mauing Western Europe again yesterday.
I'm very disappointed in NATO, very. I think that NATO, I think it's a mark on NATO that will never disappear in my mind. You know, they're coming to see me on Wednesday. They're going to say, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. Now they all of a sudden want to send things, you know. But they said it loud and clear at the beginning. When I spoke to UK of all, I would have said they would have been the first because they're the oldest. And I say, yeah, I'd love to have a little help. He said, no, sir, we'd rather wait till you win. I said, I don't need help after we win.
So could it be incentivizing a greater sense of urgency among allies, both in the Gulf and in NATO? Or is this a hard and fast deadline, and what Trump is describing will indeed come to pass between 8 p.m. Eastern Time and midnight if the Iranians don't show a willingness to deal on the straight? And what are the implications if what Trump has threatened does come to pass? For more on all that, we're pleased to be joined by retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, president of Project Sentinel and London Center for Policy Research, author of Operation Dark Heart, Spycraft and Special Ops on the Front Lines of Afghanistan and the Path to Victory. Colonel Shaffer, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having me. Good to be on with you.
So what's your interpretation of what the president has decreed and how he described it yesterday?
So you're putting the NATO issue right up front, I think, is key. He's very frustrated by the fact that we provide a lot of money, plus the whole Ukraine issue is something that we have been supporting, and I believe against our own interest we continue to support to some degree. And the fact that the NATO allies are the ones who are most affected. We're affected. Don't get me wrong. $1 more a gallon is affecting everyone. But we're not going to have any issues with supply. It's always going to be there, just going to cost more. Heck, the UK, it's 80% of its LNG, the liquid natural gas, out of Oman, and it stopped. And there's other nations which really depend on that. So even if they didn't want to be involved, Dan, in the conflict, they should very much be involved in the remedy, because they, more than us, are going to be affected by supply, plus the growing season, plus there's issues with the fact that so many of the fertilizer that is needed to grow crops in Africa has to come from the Middle East, and that affects Europe as well. That, while we import stuff from Latin America, they import stuff from Africa, and it's going to affect them. So I don't understand why these European nations haven't at least acted in their own self-interest. This is the thing with Trump. He's goading them for the right reason. But I do believe the second challenge is not really knowing who's in charge, because when you go down, 5 levels of leadership, and the current Ayatollah is being treated in a Qom hospital, apparently in a condition that prevents him from being able to even talk, which I can think of a number of things that caused that. I don't know if you're going to have a good negotiation with anyone. And the IRGC is kind of on automatic control. It's supposed to do what it's doing, terrorize. That's what's going on.
Well, and if you, whoever you thought you were negotiating last week, they may no longer be there as of this weekend, right, too. I mean, right? So right. That, it can, the negotiation teams can change in a hurry, right, or at least on their side. So, but I mean, is your recommendation or intuition or both that if Sturmer and Macron found their way to come to Trump and say, look, don't do that tonight. We're going to help, and and Mark Rutte, Secretary General NATO, we're going to help get the strait open and keep it open. So with that, I mean, should that call it off? And do you think it would call it off?
I've talked to folks in the administration, and they indicate to me that even if they couldn't physically get ships to the Gulf on time to participate, if they at least stated support, we wouldn't have this issue, because, it's like, yeah, our Navy sucks. We can't get it there, but we're with you. If they'd even done that, Dan, we'd be talking about a different scenario. But, yeah, I think we're left with, and Trump has kind of said this, like, okay, what if we leave? We're just going to leave this to you to resolve. And I think that freaked them out, because they don't have any military capability. And one of the issues is, and you probably follow this pretty close, we fund NATO. We fund 70% of NATO. So there's no NATO without us. And I think that's why Mark Rutte is going to be here tomorrow in D.C. to talk about all this nonsense. And in the end, if there is a plan, we've always had a plan, Dan, to basically seize sufficient critical terrain and centers of gravity to control the Strait of Hormuz. This goes back since I was a second lieutenant in the 1980s. So we've been planning this for a long time. But we would incur risk. We would take some military losses. We've had insignificant losses. Well, I'm not trying to lower the value of human life that's lost so far. I'm just saying, but compared to other conflicts, we are way low regarding losses. But we would probably incur more by having to take and hold that terrain. And we could do it, but it's going to be a cost. And I think this is where he's asking for NATO to step up. It's like, if we're going to have to do physical seizures, then NATO needs to be there with us to help out, especially and maybe even the Arab nations like Saudi Arabia.
Well, but when they show up to the White House tomorrow, that could be too late if he does what he is threatening to do tonight. And right. So the implications of that, I mean, even if, again, taking all the precautions that the U.S. military takes to avoid civilian casualties, I mean, if he I mean, I know this is how he communicates, but he's talking about, using words like Iran's civilization will end tonight if they don't come to the table.
Yeah, well, I always refer people to Art of the Deal. I know the way he communicates freaks people out, and even people on the conservative side get freaked out. I just look at it as like, okay, he's putting this out there for purposes of negotiation, and it gets people's attention every time. And do I believe he's going to go after every facility? No. Do I believe he'll make the point and go after some? Yeah, they took out that bridge a few days ago.
Right.
And I keep hearing this from the American press and media that, oh, this is a war crime. It's not a war crime. The first days of the first Gulf War, we were able to take out Saddam Hussein's entire power grid and most of his transportation network. So if you're in conflict with a nation, their civil infrastructure, which can be used for the military, becomes a target.
Yep.
So I'm just saying. But the reason you're hearing this is because some of the money that Obama sent the IRGC has come back. About 10% of that came back here for lobbying and influence peddling here in the United States. So that's why you hear this nonsense. But that we could probably talk about that for another 20 minutes. But anyway, back to the war. I think Trump is going to go in high. I think he's going to look for people to react, especially NATO. And then by later today, we're going to be talking about, will he hit a handful of targets or all the targets? I think he's going to go for a handful of targets if he does anything at all at this point.
And if he does, then that to you is sending the signal that, okay, I'm going to do this myself in terms of the U.S. is going to reopen. This is going to reopen and man the strait for the foreseeable future, and the UAE and the Gulf states that want to aid in the project. Great, and then we'll figure out a handoff at some point.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the predicate to kind of reform the Abraham Accords in some ways, and then even create the kind of this the GCC, the Gulf state military elements to get together to do this. And I know the Saudis have been a bit reluctant, and UAE and Qatar being right there across the Gulf, from Iran, is they're a bit concerned, and they've been struck. But this is the fact is, Dan, Iran would have struck these people eventually anyway. I mean, the fact that they struck them instantly upon the beginning of hostilities indicates to me they always intended to do it. So I think we need to leverage that and get the Arab allies on board with just saying, okay, if we have to, let's take physical control of the Gulf until we get a reasonable government in Iran.
Something that Trey Yingst over at Fox News reported this week I thought was interesting, and there hasn't been a lot of discussion about it, but part of the conversation here is the idea that there would be a revolt among the Iranian people that want regime change, and ultimately we could see a regime that's more friendly to America and the West. This is what Yingst said that Trump said about providing weapons to opponents of the Ayatollah.
Now, the president also provided new details on what happened earlier this year as the Iranian regime took to the streets and slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000 civilians in their own country. After that took place, President Trump told me the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters. He tells me we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them through the Kurds, and the president says he thinks the Kurds kept them. He went on to say we sent guns to the protesters, a lot of them. And so a number of headlines here from my conversation with President Trump.
So, I mean, we barely know who we're negotiating with, it seems, in the regime. At least that's the impression one gets. And then do we really have a handle on who we should be arming to lead this revolt, and whether or not the Kurds are a constructive middleman in that process?
The Kurds have their own objectives, different than Iran or what we want. So, I'm not comfortable with that. I think it's a negotiating position that the president's taken on for purposes of trying to influence, because other people get freaked out, especially Turkey, whenever you bring up the Kurds. So I think, again, that's a negotiating position. I'm not advising the president, nor am I advising anybody close to the president, but some of this stuff I think is a bit over the top. I think the Kurd thing is a bit over the top. So.
Frank McKenzie, who's retired former CENTCOM commander, General Frank McKenzie, was on Face the Nation this weekend, and he said that if you had given me this scenario of where the campaign would be plus 30 days in, he would have rejected it as too optimistic. And it was an interesting statement coming from a former CENTCOM commander, because, of course, you have a lot of critics of the administration or critics of this particular decision by the administration suggesting that America is somehow losing because the strait is not fully reopened at this point.
Well, we've had over 15,000 sorties, 13,000 targets struck, a handful of casualties. We're not losing. I don't think we're necessarily meeting all the strategic objectives that people would like to see us hit. But and I do agree. Look, it's the size of Alaska, the country is, with 92 million people. It's going to take some time to get this thing done. And I think President Trump was a bit optimistic in the time frame. And look, I'm friends with Pete Hegseth. I trust his judgment on stuff. But, this is something we've been studying since 1979. And it's not going to be something that needs to resolve. But I think it had to be done. A lot of my friends who are not even conservatives recognize the danger of having a nuclear-armed Iran. So, Dan, I guess we'll see how it rolls. But I do believe we'll be okay, and I think we are winning. It's just we got to finish off the issue regarding the Strait before we see global economic downturns that actually affect us in the midterms. So.
He is retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, Tony Schaefer, president at Project Sentinel and London Center for Policy Research, author of Operation Dark Heart, Spycraft and Special Ops on the Front Lines of Afghanistan, and The Path to Victory. Operation Dark Heart is the book. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, thanks for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, let's check in on how you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Perhaps you have a story or two, a success story or two, an example of how you've helped clients recently.
I remember I had a neighbor who, believe it or not, was a longtime listener to your show. And he had come up to me in the yard and said he wanted to stop and smell the roses and kind of get out of his job. He was done taking the train downtown to Chicago every day and basically working 60 hours a week for a company that didn't really care about him or his family. So we started running numbers, and lo and behold, he was able to retire 5 years earlier. He's now 12 years retired. He's a grandpa. He's loving life. He, too, needed a protect and grow blueprint, and he had to make sure he wasn't leaving anything to chance for their future.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just in terms of things we can be proud of, we talked a bit earlier about the rescue of that weapons service officer, which was incredible. Military, something to be proud of. Also, our astronauts on the Artemis. This is Victor Glover, who had that great riff in response to the identitarian question he got from the press last week that we discussed. Had an even better Easter message.
I'm glad you brought that up, though. I think these observances are important, and as we are so far from Earth and looking back at, the beauty of creation, I think for me, one of the really important personal perspectives that I have up here is I can really see Earth as one thing. And, when I read the Bible and I look at all of the amazing things that were done for us who were created, it's you have this amazing place, this spaceship. You guys are talking to us because we're in a spaceship really far from Earth, but you're on a spaceship called Earth that was created to give us a place to live in the universe, in the cosmos. I think maybe the distance we are from you makes you think what we're doing is special, but we're the same distance from you, and I'm trying to tell you, just trust me, you are special. In all of this emptiness, this is a whole bunch of nothing, this thing we call the universe. You have this oasis, this beautiful place that we get to exist together. I think as we go into Easter Sunday, thinking about, all the cultures all around the world, whether you celebrate it or not, whether you believe in God or not, this is an opportunity for us to remember where we are, who we are, and that we are the same thing and that we got to get through this together.
Good stuff. Speaking of being and nothingness, we'll turn our attention to all things Illinois related. Well, Mark Lennon, founder of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, joins us. Maybe the city could improve its bond rating if it just collected all the revenue from the outstanding tickets and violations of city and other local governmental employees. Start there. Mark Lennon, 737. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. 31 degrees in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson in the QC Kinetics newsroom. We're looking at a colder day today with highs in the upper 30s. We start with the latest on a triple murder case out of suburban Crete Township. A judge ordering Jenna Strubble to be held without bond, accused of executing 3 members of the same family. Prosecutors say she shot and killed Jacob Lambert, the father of her kids, in the back of the head while he was lying down receiving a massage. She then turned the gun on Lambert's parents, according to prosecutors, Stacy and Patrick Ford, killing them inside the home so they could not seek custody of the children. White Sox moving their Tuesday night game to 2:10 this afternoon due to cold weather. Forecasts calling for highs in the middle 30s, making it the coldest day of the week. All tickets remain valid, and parking will open just after 12 today. The gates will open at 12:40. The Sox will take on the Orioles. This report is service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. Check the roads coming up on AM 560 The Answer.
Looking for a powerful way to support your immune system? Now's your chance to win a free bottle of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail made with 23 science-backed ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and natural nutraceuticals designed to support your body's natural defenses. 10 winners will each receive a free bottle. Hey, don't miss your shot to boost your wellness routine. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/immune. That's 560theanswer.com/IMMUNE.
It's Reveille. The University of Illinois president testified last week in the Illinois Senate Appropriations Committee that 41% of his students pay no tuition or fees. The president said among their 3 campuses, they have a total of 101,000 students. Some of those are graduate students. Still, it could be well over 30,000 students who pay nothing for their college education. Who are the students that pay nothing? No one asked in committee. They are not all in the ROTC program or merit scholars with near perfect ACT or SAT scores. Some are likely receiving the Illinois Promise Scholarship. It provides full financial support for eligible low-income Illinois students, covering tuition, fees, housing, and books through grants, scholarships, and a minimal work requirement. But do these students make up the majority of who are attending for free? How many of these students are not citizens since Illinois opened up taxpayer-funded financial aid to non-citizens? At what rate do they stay in school and graduate? And what do they study? So many unanswered questions. Enrollment is up overall, with Black enrollment up 12% and Hispanic enrollment up 9%. And the universities are geared to student success. That means academically challenged students receive summer remedial classes to bring them up to speed before they start regular class in the fall. This isn't new. They've been doing it for years, but it begs the question if students should even be admitted. Wraparound services continue as well. Student intake includes assessing them for qualifying for Medicaid, food stamps, or taxpayer-funded childcare. Needless to say, the university president requested more money for this year's budget. How about start with every student having skin in the game, be a citizen, and be fully qualified before receiving any taxpayer funding? I'm Jeannie Ives. Listen to The Real Story Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 16 in, 17 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. 33 in, 37 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Jam-packed inbound on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. It's 45 minutes. Outbound is 24. 42 in on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 27. It's also 27 inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound looks good at 11, but the express lanes inbound starting to slow down between the Chicago Skyway and the Stevenson, and jam-packed northbound Lakeshore Drive, hitting those brakes between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by True Green. Warmer weather is here and the weeds aren't far behind, but the lawn care pros at True Green are ready. Don't wait. Sign up at truegreen.com by April 7th and get 6 weeks free. Let the pros do the work so you can enjoy your weekend. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and chilly with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with the wirepoints.org boys. All things Illinois policy related, wirepoints.org. Jamie Dimon, he's the boss over at JP Morgan. He was at a forum, the Hill and Valley Forum. Oh, good, bringing Capitol Hill and Silicon Valley together. What could go wrong? But nonetheless, he had this riff to offer on businesses leaving New York City. I mean, you can, cut and paste Chicago or just about any other big blue city into the conversation Jamie Dimon was having.
Why are you buying more real estate in Mamdani's Manhattan right now?
Well, it wasn't the mayor when we started building that building 5 years ago. But here's a lesson, and this lesson is true for companies, cities, states, and countries. You got to compete. There's no divine right to success. Just read the history books. So our head count in Manhattan, when I got to JP Morgan, was 35,000, and now it's 26,000. Our head count in Texas It started at 11,000, now it's 33,000. That's what happens. And, part of it's the highest individual taxes, highest estate taxes, highest corporate taxes, anti-business sentiment, and that's what happens. And, you could be any ideologue you want, but that's the real world. And people vote with their feet, and you can't get mad at them. If you believe in a free country, if someone wants to move to Florida, that's their right. And so, if they make too many mistakes, the mayors, including Mayor Mamdani, should worry about police, hospitals, subways, sanitation, storms, healthcare, schools. It's got to do with Democrats or Republicans, and ideology distorts reality when it comes to something like that. So, but our building's great. We're still there. It's got some of the best people. But I think when I grew up as a kid in New York City, and you probably don't know this, there were 120 of the Fortune 500 were headquarters there. In the 1970s, 60 of the 120 left, including Exxon, GE, IBM, Union Carbide. I mean, that's not what you want. And they're all going to Texas, basically, or Nevada.
So head count is down a quarter in New York, and it's tripled in Texas. That might perhaps be of some interest to some New Yorkers. Probably not. Sort of like you would think this would be of interest to people in a major metropolitan area, a big city like Chicago or like New York. But it really isn't. Okay. Well, that's all right. What mayors should be focused on? Things like public safety. Well, we had some street takeovers there in Chicago over the weekend, and Brandon Johnson is very focused on them. Not in the terms of conventionally being focused, doing what Jamie Dimon is talking about. Because he's unconventional. Bit of a maverick, that BLM Brandon. So focus on street takeovers, you mean, so he brought police resources to bear. No, not really. He worked with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to prosecute scofflaws, people that created unrest. No, that's way too conventional. The important thing is that we get the lexicon correct when we talk about incidents where kids are being silly, as we've discussed before. And to his credit, Brandon Johnson never focuses on the sum and substance of public safety. He always focuses on the lingo. Make sure nobody's feelings are being hurt. There's no scintilla of white supremacy afoot.
That's not appropriate. We're not talking about mob actions. I didn't say that.
What happens?
Hold on a second, okay? Respectfully. These large gatherings, just hold on a second, y'all. I promise you, we have time to talk. It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way.
Exactly. That's the important point. So, I mean, mob action, street takeover, Clockwork Orange, visit Chicago, droogs on the loose. That's not appropriate. And that's what you need to focus on. Large gatherings, like when a family reunion is a large gathering. We're all family here in Chicago. We are family. If I can borrow from Sister Sledge. And that's, these are our neighbors. And some of our neighbors are kids being silly. Carjacking here, stick up there. Kids being silly. Don't be demonizing kids. Demonization is reserved for ICE agents. Mark Lennon joins us now, founder of wirepoints.org. Mark, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Yeah, and our press seems to have the same attitude, that they're doing Chicago a favor if they don't talk about these things in harsh language. That was all over social media on Saturday and Saturday evening when those teen takeovers occurred. So we tried to find a story about it in the press to put up on Sunday. I only found one. I mean, this stuff gets pushed under the rug, and Jamie Dimon said it beautifully, as he always does. You got to compete. This is one of the ways we compete against other cities and making the city livable and comfortable. And you can believe in the warmth of collectivism all you want, but the fact is that we've got a system where you have to compete or people will move, and we're not competing.
Yeah, and well, the migration numbers tell the story. I know they're blunted somewhat by the importation of people from other countries to reside in this country illegally here in Illinois, but I mean, the migration numbers, the spread on incoming household income versus outgoing household income. I mean, it's been telling the same story for the better part of 2 decades. And as I said, it's just like listening to Jamie Dimon. It's like, oh, yeah, everybody agrees with that. No, actually, not really.
Yeah, and Dan, I want to go to a particular aspect of that immigration story that, again, has been swept under the rug by the press, and that is the surge in HIV and AIDS cases that occurred, perfectly coinciding with the open border policy of the Biden administration in the Latino population in Chicago. Number of HIV infections is up 29% over that period. Now, WBEZ and the Chicago Sun-Times are the only ones to have done a story on this, and guess what they talked about? Governor Abbott is to blame,
of course,
for busing in those 50,000 people, out of the 550,000 illegals we have in Illinois. Well, this is crazy, and of course we also had a measles outbreak in Chicago. The shooter of the young woman from Loyola turns out they have tuberculosis. And remember, this surge in HIV cases happened during COVID when we were largely separated. So a lot of communicable diseases you would think would have been suppressed, but they weren't. They surged. And it was in the Latino population. There's some 10,000, 12,000 HIV-infected people now in Chicago, mostly Hispanic. And that is a direct result of open borders under the Biden administration and our welcoming policies that brought those people here.
Well, that's it. You just said the key word, finally, welcoming. We welcome people. We welcome people here. And when I hear the spikes in HIV and measles outbreaks and tuberculosis as that public safety plus public health threat, which is a wonderful sanctuary city twofer, Sheridan Gorman's killer. I think we just need more wraparound services. Maybe stand up a few more NGOs. We need to restore funding for health, for community health care clinics. I mean, that's the response you're going to get from BLM Brandon and his ilk. I mean, it's just we need bigger government to make Chicago a bigger, better, safer, stupendous place.
Bingo, Dan. And that's the other thing that WBEZ and the Chicago Sun-Times emphasized is this comes at a particularly challenging time, they said, as our budgets for government programs for these things are being cut. This is swept under the rug. This whole surge in infections is getting no attention. Town Hall, a national conservative publication, had a very good article on it a couple days ago, but nothing from the Illinois press except blaming Governor Abbott.
I hate to saw sawdust here, but City Journal, the publication Manhattan Institute, had a piece that you could have written. You've written versions of it for years, as so many have made this point. But I mean, just to revisit, residents, bond investors, credit rating, and you see the writing on the wall. The Windy City is headed over the fiscal cliff. Chicago's credit ratings have been downgraded to BBB+, with rating agencies citing fiscal issues. Fiscal issues, really? While Illinois has enjoyed credit rating upgrades in recent years thanks to COVID funds set to expire this year, Illinois is still the worst-rated state when it comes to credit rating. I mean, we've had our credit 6 credit upgrades since I've been governor. Yeah, it's all related to COVID, and we're still the worst in the nation. But other than that, well done, Jelly Belly. And they go on to make the point that, again, has been made at Wire Points and elsewhere, that basically Chicago is in a worse fiscal condition than Detroit pre-bankruptcy. And they make the comparison of Chicago not to Detroit so much as more like New York City, which Jamie Dimon was just talking about in the 1970s, or Puerto Rico in 2015 when Puerto Rico defaulted on bonds. My reaction to this, it's like, okay, it's like you've been warned again and 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 again for 2 decades from some of the same voices. So do we just keep issuing the warning, or is there anything else we can do? Self-immolate? What to get people's attention? What do you think?
Think about this. Try to name one material thing that the city or the state are trying to do to fix the fiscal problems in Chicago. Nothing. I mean, there's really nothing under discussion. No pressure from our vaunted civic leaders here. Nothing from state politicians who really have ultimate oversight here and could be doing something. My view is what we really need is an oversight board of some kind, like New York had, back in the 70s. The problem is that, who'd appoint that board? You'd get the same clowns running the board if it were appointed by the city or the state. Wouldn't be able to have the federal government make the appointments probably because that would cause an uproar, and I'm not sure they have legal authority to do it. So at this point, don't expect a whole lot of good answers from me because we've just ignored these things for far too long.
Maybe we could start by getting city employees and the employees of local units of government like CPS to pay their fines. And substitute teacher owes City Hall $200,000 for building code violations, fines, and traffic tickets he's racked up over the past 25 years. I mean, not interested in amnesty programs unless it's just, a complete wipeout of the debt. Convicted bank robber landed an entry-level job with the CTA Second Chance program. Perfect. Even though City Hall says he owes more than $136,000 in fines, mostly for drinking in public and selling Lucy's, individual cigarettes, near Douglas Park.
Yeah.
Wait, there's more. The operator of a West Side religious store owes the city more than $28,000 in water bills, but that didn't keep her from landing a job as a staff assistant to a city council member who is pushing Mayor Brandon Johnson to collect money from deadbeats. I mean, except her or him or Stacey Davis Gates. 12,000 plus people work for the city or sister agencies, owe the city more than $19.5 million.
Yeah, how hard it would be to fix that? Not hard at all. You just cross-check, the list of the people that owe those obligations against the payroll obligations, and guess which agency is the one at the top of the list with the most employees who are those scofflaws. Chicago Public Schools. No surprise, and then that's the real story here. It's just a culture of deadbeatism that we have here, and it goes unchecked. It's welcome here.
Yeah. Well, but cross-checking, that sounds a little white supremacy. That sounds like you're targeting people. That sounds a little scary. These are just adults being silly, not paying their water bills or building fines. Yeah. Okay. All right. Things are going. I mean, it's going pretty well though. Overall, what you say is that things are going well. You're feeling good about the future.
Steady on course. That's
yep.
Right.
Yeah. Stay the course. Mark Lennon, founder of Wire Points. You can read his writings as well on his Substack, substack.com/@MarkLennon. Wirepoints.org is the site. Mark, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Take care.
Take care. And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Your family and friends love you, but they hate seeing you in pain all the time, especially heading into vacation season. Allow me to recommend my friends at QC Kinetics. They will take care of your pain and let you go right on with your day. It's that easy. Listen, if you answer yes to more than one of these questions, then you're a great candidate. Do you have consistent joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back? Does pain rob you from a good night's sleep? Are you missing work or saying no to activities you love? Are you taking painkillers? If this is you, then today could be the day to turn that corner and get real relief. With 5 Chicagoland locations and weekend appointments, QC Kinetics treatments are easy, done in the office. Consultations are free. I've seen the results in person myself, and I personally recommend QC Kinetics. So don't wait. This will be the most meaningful thing you can do for yourself and those that love you. Call now 312-827-6261. That number, 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, most of us spend our entire lives in the paycheck mode. You work, you get 30% taken from the G, you pay your bills, repeat, and rinse. And that's how time goes by. Then all of a sudden you're old. Retirement hits. Suddenly, you're the one who has to figure out your paycheck that isn't there anymore. Markets are bumpy, prices are up, things can get stressful real fast. That's why having a real income plan matters. Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group can help you build a strategy to turn your hard-earned savings into a reliable retirement income. They coordinate with your Social Security and your tax planning so you can stop wondering if you're withdrawing the right amount at the right time. Tom Fortino and the people of Alpha Wealth Group have been doing this for 30 years. They can help you by giving you a complimentary retirement roadmap. And all you have to do is call 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
This profane ignoramus named Hassan Piker, we've brought you him before. He's like one of the most popular podcasters on the left. He routinely calls for violence, called for Rick Scott to be killed. He's Dan Crenshaw, just generally speaking. He's fresh off a trip to Cuba with Code Pink in tow to extol the wonders of communism. Tell us how much the Cuban people enjoy living without electricity. And more recently said this.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers. And murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their red capitalist bloods, dude.
Mm-hmm. Compare and contrast. Argentina, Javier Milei, he's halved poverty. Approval ratings are 64%. Poverty in Argentina has fallen from 30% to 17% of the population. Extreme poverty from 11% to 5%. And of course, he is as free market ahead of state as there exists in the world. He also said something recently about leftism that is really true. It's almost Churchillian. I thought being on the left was a mental problem, and I discovered that being on the left is a disease of the soul. The left is built on envy, hatred, resentment, unequal treatment before the law. They are violent. And since they have no way or arguments to answer, they go for physical violence. Yeah. Like Hassan Piker, who, by the way, is on the campaign trail for Dem Senate candidates. Keep that in mind. It's now 8 o'clock at AM 560 WIND.
A whole civilization will die tonight. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump just posted that on Truth Social, adding never to be brought back again, as his deadline for Iran to stop blocking oil and other shipping in the Strait of Hormuz is down to 11 hours. Fox's Alexandria Hoff reads more of that post from the White House.
I do not want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end.
Unless there's some sort of a deal before the deadline, the president says.
We have a plan because of the power of our military where every bridge in Iran will be decimated.
And he also warns that the U.S. military will bomb every power plant in Iran, prompting state media there to call out for all young people, athletes and artists, professors and students to form a human chain around the power plants. Ahead of that threatened bombardment, other bombing.
Fox News can confirm overnight the United States hit dozens of targets on Iran's Karg Island. This is the island responsible for more than 90% of Iran's oil exports. Fox's Jennifer Griffin says the targets included bunkers, radar stations, and ammunition storage.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Oil prices rising again this morning, up about 3%. Gas also a couple of cents higher. AAA's national average for regular at $4.14 a gallon. Diesel $5.64. The Artemis II crew is resting after a record day in space.
From all of us, it's a privilege to witness you carrying the fire past our farthest reach.
That's NASA Mission Control after the 4 astronauts traveled farther from Earth than anyone ever as they did a fly around the far side of the moon, and they'll return on Friday, splashing down off the California coast. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning, 32 degrees in Chicago and AM 560. The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson, the QC Kinetics newsroom. Not a big warm-up from right now. Upper 30s for highs today. And with the weather in mind, the White Sox have moved up the start of their game today with the Orioles to 2:10 p.m. It originally was supposed to start at 6:40. Tickets for tonight's game obviously will be good for the game today. And again, it's been moved between the Sox and O's to 2:10 this afternoon. There's a renewed push to restrict no-knock search warrants in Illinois. Jim Talamonte explains.
State Rep Cam Buckner said on Monday that House Bill 1611 is simple but fundamental.
When the government crosses the threshold of a person's home, especially with force, there must be clear rules, real safeguards, and accountability when something goes wrong.
And Jeanette Young was handcuffed when police searched her home by mistake during a no-knock warrant in 2019. Young said government policy that avoids accountability does not make for safe communities.
It makes for more fearful and unsafe systems for our officers. And it undermines the many good officers who serve with integrity every day.
Dozens of law enforcement groups oppose the bill. I'm Jim Talamonte.
Tickets for the Obama Presidential Center on the South Side go on sale next month. The general public can begin purchasing tickets on May 6th. Admission for ages 12 and up costs $30, $23 for ages 3 to 11, free for kids 2 and under. All museum tickets are timed entry tickets, and visitors are encouraged to reserve tickets online in advance. Residents of Illinois will be able to visit the museum for free on Tuesdays. The Obama Center will open to the public on June 19th. This report is service of the AM 560 store. Order T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. We'll check the roads in a couple of minutes, but now the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks have been looking for direction. Dow futures were higher, then turned down more than 200. The deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz is 8 p.m. Eastern Time today. Brent crude, the global benchmark, is up to $110 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate, U.S. crude, is at $114 a barrel. Shares of health insurance companies are higher after the Trump administration revealed plans to increase payments to Medicare insurers by more than 2% next year. A previous proposal to hold the line on payments resulted in fierce criticism from the industry. United Health, Elevance Health, Humana, and CVS Health, the parent of Aetna, are all sharply higher this morning. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt sees damage, but there's still a threat.
Together, we continue to deliver precision strikes against key manufacturing nodes. And over the past 30 days, we've struck more than 11,000 targets.
11,000. That's not the Israelis. The Israelis are running out of targets. I don't know what's left in Iran, but they can still threaten the Strait.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer. The Danielle Gill Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Actually lowering prices has rarely ever been an accomplishment a Democrat could even claim. The Democrat modus operandi is to use each crisis as an excuse to pass legislation which increases spending, gives more power to the government, and which will make new crises which they can't then use as an excuse to pass more horrible legislation.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
What are you doing?
I'm setting up the Art of Options sectional.
That's a popular pick at Penny Mustard.
But why is it so long?
I wanted to create the world's longest sectional that wraps around the entire showroom.
Well, the Art of Options is powered by a rechargeable battery, so it can literally go anywhere.
So what are you going to build next?
The world's longest coffee table.
The Art of Options reclining sectional starting at $92.65 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You will also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
I didn't switch to Pure Talk just because I wanted to save 50% off the same 5G service I'd been paying twice as much for. I switched because I like the idea of being in business with a wireless company that supports our veterans in a meaningful way. Pure Talk also creates American jobs every day by keeping their entire operation in this country. I appreciate that. If you feel the same, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 17 in, 21 out on the Edens from Lake Hook to Montrose. 44 in on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 49 with a collision blocking the right lane at Ontario Street. Delays start at Monroe Street. The express lanes are also jammed inbound between North Avenue and Ontario Street. The Ike is 51 in, 40 out from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 66 minutes, just volume inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 36. 34 in, 12 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Hitting the brakes in the express lanes inbound between the Chicago Skyway and the Stevenson. Jam-packed northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. Route 53 is slammed. Southbound between Rand Road and Algonquin Road with construction. News and Traffic is a service of American Beam and Steel. Structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight, expect partly to mostly cloudy skies and chilly conditions with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Jamie Dimon, mentioned him last hour at one forum. I'm going to mention him this hour at another forum. A economic forum on immigration hosted by the Reagan Presidential Library. Jamie Dimon had this to say about America's immigration policies of the not-so-distant past.
Immigration, what the hell were we doing? You know, the bottom 20% of our population, you know, their wages didn't go up for 20 years. They're dying 7 years younger. You know, when administrations, you know, the Biden administration is giving all this money to EVs and cars and wasting a lot of money on green stuff, which isn't going to work, and all that. Do you think people in rural cities, do you think people in inner cities thought they were getting anything? Do you think that those people think that the American government is fair and competent and that this was in their best interest? Their schools don't work. They're not getting the skills they need. And you heard that just now. So we got to acknowledge it. And I also call it blue tape. Because, you know, Republicans, you generally don't like red tape. You understand the devastation of it. But, you know, most Democrats, I know, they love it. They want more of it. And they want to make it so confusing you can't even meet the rules, so you get punished and fined afterwards. And so, you know, and then you have it in permitting, and, you know, I call the government the Leviathan that's too weak, can't get stuff done, and too strong. It imposes things on the American public that they're getting sick of. And they should be getting sick of it, and acknowledge that. Celebrate our virtues: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, equal opportunity, family, God, country.
Yeah, I mean, that's all well and good. Now that it's safe for him to say things like that. But at least he's saying it. Some still don't, even though they're, you know, basically insulated from professional consequences as the head of a big bank. But there are complications, too. Farm labor shortfall. The goal of President Trump and his Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins, create 100% American farm workforce. Well, that's running into the reality that there are a lot more jobs in farming than Americans want to do. To its credit, the Wall Street Journal reports the Trump Labor Department took steps to make it easier and less costly for farmers to hire seasonal guest workers on H-2A visas. Last fall, the department relaxed the wage mandate from the previous regime that required farmers to pay guest workers as much as $17.75 an hour and as much as nearly $20 an hour in California, provide housing, transportation. But here's the rub. Farmers received applications from U.S. workers for only 182 of 415,000 positions advertised in the last fiscal year. Farmers report that crops are wasting in fields because they can't find workers. Department of Labor warns that shortages are resulting in more food imports, which have become more expensive because of Trump's tariffs. For example, wholesale fresh vegetable prices have risen nearly 50% in the past year, according to the PPI. And I'm sure many listening have noticed, me not being one of them. But, boy, it's a real complicated picture, only made more complicated by the military campaign in Iran at present. For more on these complications, we're pleased to be joined by Jim Perry, founder, CIO, Perry International Capital Partners. James, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that, too. Have a good day.
So, you know, give us your handle on the state of affairs as food prices are rising, gas prices are rising even more than we would have anticipated until about a month ago. We talked a little bit earlier in the program about Obamacare premium spikes for people that do not qualify for subsidies. Those are substantial. So that affordability issue that was much discussed before the war, that's not going away. And in fact, it may be even increasing in importance below the fold, and it will be revisited by the politicians come this summer.
Right. Well, like you said, it's a complicated picture out there these days, isn't it? This war overshadows everything. I've been doing a lot of traveling, seeing clients in faraway places, and it's interesting. The picture is really, you don't have to talk about economics very much because the war overshadows everything. But back to your view on Jamie Dimon, he's a really good banker, and he's got a very efficient company. And it's exactly opposite of what government does. So the point is, when people talk about vegetable prices going up, they're kind of talking their book too, right? They're in the profit business, and they can blame it on government. And Jamie Dimon's talking his book too and says, well, this can be really bad and inflation's really going to go up, and they benefit from that. So I think, the employment situation and the economy situation in the United States is doing remarkably well. I mean, if you just look at the data, usually we talk on the non-farm payroll number, and it was kind of Easter week and all that sort of stuff. But, nobody expected 178,000 jobs and an unemployment rate at 4.3%. And retail sales are up, and consumer spending's up, and, airline traffic is up, and cruise ships are up, and hotels are up. And I'm in Florida, and it's busy down here still. And the economies where I have been seem to be booming. So I think everybody's got this kind of overlay of, good heavens, what's going to happen in the Gulf, So it's been a good couple of weeks to be out of the office because you don't have to talk about economics too much because we've got a bigger picture to talk about. So economically, the economy is doing okay. The job market's doing fine. AI is increasing productivity and demand, and they're starting to make some money. The private debt and leveraged loan business is a lot smaller than the mortgage market was in 2008. So looking at the economy without the war, I think the odds of a recession are probably as low as they've been since pre-COVID, right? But with this war, it's probably 50-50 depending on the price of oil.
And what's sort of to the extent that there are discernible street expectations about Trump's waging of this campaign in Iran, from the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline tonight going forward, when does the tipping point, or when do you get the sense the street is saying there will be a tipping point where the price of these inputs, starting with oil, becomes such that a recession is more likely than not? Right. Well, I mean, I'm a market guy, right? I've been on the trading desk my whole life, and there's really one thing that matters to everybody. And I wrote this about 10 days ago in my weekly report. We're all oil traders now, Dan, right? We're all oil traders. And it really is the price of oil. The S&P 500 is at, 6,600, and it was at 7,000, so we're down 400 points from the high. The S&P is not going to go up until the price of oil gets back down to $60 a barrel. And for that to happen, you've got to have three things happen in the Gulf, which have not happened yet. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen tonight or not. At least one portion might. But, you've got to get a free flow of oil through the strait without threat, right? That's just number one. Otherwise, you're going to have a global recession. And then two, it's really got to be absolutely no nukes and a government that's going to abide by that kind of contract with, verification and all that sort of stuff. And then three, you've got to control this resource. You've got to control oil flow. And if you don't do that and the money that comes behind it, you lose. So those three items have to take place before oil goes to 60, and none of them are complete. And I doubt very seriously that by 8 o'clock tonight or midnight tonight, or, when we wake up tomorrow morning and see the futures prices trading over in Asia or something, I don't think oil is going to go down really hard, except for the guys that are betting against the rise. It's just,
we've got a lot of work to do in the Middle East before this market begins to feel better about itself.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who's in that sector yesterday, and one of the things he was remarking upon is how unusual it is that the spread between the WTI and Brent was so narrow.
Right.
Particularly because we're talking about America as an exporter of energy, of oil and natural gas, and really operate and really, I mean, relative to the hammering the Europeans are taking, we're actually holding up quite well. But the global recession point that you made is, if Western Europe goes into a deep dive, and other relevant major economies, India, Japan, then we're not going to be, we're not going to be completely insulated from that.
Yeah, that's right. Brent is actually Brent is the global benchmark, right? It's priced in London, and it's actually lower than West Texas Intermediate, which is highly unusual. I think it doesn't happen, right? So that's weird. But oil, there's a lot of different prices for oil. There's Russian oil, there's Iraqi oil, there's Saudi oil, and the price of oil is determined by the amount of oil that's on the surface, and we don't really know how much is in these boats and where they are and where they're going. So anybody that thinks oil is well priced, or the price of oil or what it should be, is kind of not really telling the truth, because there's just too many moving parts, and you don't know where your ships are, you don't know where your ports are, you don't know if it's going to get blown up or not. So,
what is that relationship between Brent and WTI? The unusual price settings at the moment. What does that tell you?
Well, WTI is usually lower because we've got a lot of it, right? And we are a net exporter. And a lot of that's from Mexico and Canada, so it's a little bit quirky. But it really is a supply and demand issue. And the fact is that, our refineries are working at full capacity because we are able in Texas and Louisiana to refine heavy crude, nasty oil from places like Canada and Venezuela better than anybody else. And there's a shortage of diesel fuel out there, right? There's a shortage of jet fuel. And if we don't get this Gulf situation fixed up pretty quick, those numbers are going to go even higher in price, and the economy is going to really suffer. So we need this thing to get cleared up pretty quick. But I think the markets will tell you that things are looking better if oil goes down to 80 tomorrow morning or 60 next week. And the market will tell you that things aren't looking so good with supply and demand if oil goes to 120 and 140 and 150. And either one of those things can happen, in the next few hours. So this is a really critical point in time for this conflict.
What about concerns about private credit defaults? Speaking of Jamie Dimon, he addressed this the other day, suggesting that it's overstated, but he also said that when it does happen, it's going to be higher. The defaults will be higher than expected because of the relaxed rules on leveraged lending generally. Is this something that could, if it's not a concern now, could quickly become a concern in an environment like you're describing, if it continues to be a difficult one with respect to natural resources, energy?
Right. This is a big concern. It's on the front page of every paper. And again, it's because people don't really understand the dynamics and the size and the leverage of this private credit deal. Private credit, Dan, is nothing other than a leveraged loan that is made outside of the banking system, right? There's a lot of these business development banks that are allowed to, raise money for software companies and AI companies, because all of these pensions and insurance companies and sovereign wealth funds and central banks, they demand a clean, uncorrelated flow of income so they can distribute it to their insurance policy holders and their pensioners and all that sort of stuff. But, I was working in trading bonds in the 07, 08 crisis, and that was a lot different. The bond market was a lot smaller back in 07, 08. Now it's $65 trillion. Back then it was kind of 20, right? So the bond market's, 2-3 times higher than it was before. And the mortgage market is bigger than the treasury market, and that was about 65% of all loans back in 08. Now, the leveraged loan business is probably something on the order of 3% of all outstanding debt instruments, which is really a lot smaller than the mortgage market. And the mortgage market back then, remember, people were getting 2 and 3 mortgages and renting out places, and they had a cash job that they had at night or something like that, right? Now, you've got credit analysts with spreadsheets going through software companies and looking at future cash flows and saying, we can package this and leverage it at 5-to-1 and sell it to the, police department pension of LA or something, and they'll take their 8% a year, and everybody's going to be happy. Well, this is a structured product, which is leverage. And the leverage portion of this is probably going to get worse before it gets better, because people, if retail gets involved, which they are now, and they get scared and they want their money back, they want out. And there's no real exit for this sort of stuff, right? Leverage credit, private credit has 2 problems or 3 problems. Number 1, it's really expensive to get into. Number 2, there's no liquidity. And number 3, there's no exit strategy, right? And when retail is faced with those things, when the market goes down on them, they don't care. They don't understand the risks. And they want their money back. So the problem is some of these Blue Owl and Ares and groups like that, they have a cash call and they can't meet them. This is actually good for Jamie Dimon because all those guys have credit lines with these banks, right? So they are saying, Mr. Dimon, we'd like to borrow $250 million or $1
Go back
billion
to
because we've got to pay our investors.
Yeah,
and Jamie Dimon's happy to do it, right? So the point is, I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. I don't think it's going to upset the market, and it's not going to change interest rates very much. So I think it's kind of a tempest in a teapot, except if you're a retail investor, it feels very, very dangerous.
Ray Dalio, of course, founder of Bridgewater, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, recently sat down with Tucker Carlson. Interesting. I was glad to see Tucker talking about something other than Iran today. And Dalio had this to say about digital currencies that are coming.
What happens if the government issues digital currency? Like, what does that mean?
Well, digital currency is, right, you're talking about central bank digital currencies.
Yeah.
Okay, and that there's a great deal of appeal because of the fact that it's easy and so on. But it's and I think it'll be done. A lot happens.
Do you think it will be done?
Yeah, I think it's but what happens in the digital currency? Of course, it's easy to transact and so on. And it'll be like money market funds, I think. The question will be first, will they be able to offer interest? So there's a debate now as to whether they will be interest. If they're not able to offer interest, and there will be a debate, probably they won't be, but then they're not an effective vehicle to hold it in because you'll have the depreciation.
Of course.
You'd rather hold it in a money market fund or a bond, but that's debate. There will be no privacy, and it's a very effective controlling mechanism by the government. What I mean is all the transactions will be known. All transactions done with digital currencies will be known, which is good for illegal activities, getting control of illegal activities. But it also means that the government has a great deal of control. For example, they can tax that way. They can take your money. They can establish foreign exchange controls and the like. And so that's something that will be an increasing issue, particularly for international holders of that currency, because they might feel, let's say, if you're a Frenchman and they wanted to have sanctions, they could take your money.
Well, of course.
And so on. So there's the privacy issue of that. And
if you're politically disfavored, you could be shut off.
Politically disfavored, you could be shut off, yes.
Although that happened in the traditional banking system in places like Canada. So, I mean, traditional banking doesn't insulate you necessarily from that either. But I mean, is a central bank digital currency something that's been bandied about for a while now in the age of cryptocurrencies? Is that something that is in the near term, and even to the extent it would come online, would that be something that was particularly disruptive?
I don't think it's disruptive, but, to Tucker Carlson's point and Dalio's, I mean, central banks want digital currencies for one reason. They can tax people, right? It's easier to tax people. And they can kind of say, if if you're not doing what we want you to do, we're going to withhold your universal income or something. So digital currencies, sure. China, great. Maybe even parts of Europe, great. But, these are stupid things and they're controls on humanity. So I don't think you're going to get a digital currency here. In fact, Trump has come out and said that. I hope not, because I just don't. It's kind of universal income sort of oriented. I think it's really stupid, and I think it's disruptive to the free market capitalist system. I mean, you go to Europe, they haven't used cash over there for 20 years, right? So governments love that because they can tax you. Here, I don't think it's disruptive at all. I would say the odds of getting a digital currency from a central bank in the next 10 to 20 years is probably zero, right? So it's not going to be disruptive. However, if you think about a stable coin, right, which is a digital currency that is backed by a U.S. Treasury bill, this is how Iran is getting cash flow for its terrorist activities and its missiles, right? They are selling 95% of their oil to China, and 50% of the oil that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz goes to China. China is directing cash in the form of stable coins to the whoever they are who are running Iran right now. So it's helping them, but it's not illegal, and it's backed by T-bills. So I don't think digital currencies at the central bank level are coming anywhere here anytime soon. Iran, maybe. China, maybe. But, in the United States, I doubt it. The stablecoin story is allowing the Iranian regime to continue this operation, and if it persists in this sort of status quo, they win. We have got to control the flow of oil out of Iran and the money that's going into Iran in a stable coin before we're going to win this war. So I think I have a lot of respect for Ray Dalio. He's made a lot of money, but I think his opinion is slightly tainted, and I don't believe that the threat that he maybe talks about really exists as much as it does,
James Perry, founder, CIO, Perry International Capital Partners. Jim, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good week and good luck tonight.
Thank you. You too. And you joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind, which has to be rewarding. Doing it a long time. You've got a lot of success stories on a daily basis, I'm sure. Can you give our listeners an example of a family that you've helped out recently that comes to mind?
We had a 65-year-old call who had been listening to your show, and he called us and he said, he wanted to know, do I have enough assets? I'm really tired of working. I'm burnt out, et cetera. And he didn't know if he had the resources, and he didn't have the knowledge to get to the answer of that. So we helped him prepare a Protect and Grow blueprint. And by doing that, we helped position his money for income and cut back on the risks that they had in their current portfolio.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:38, it's not lawfare if your political opponent has actually broken the law. Act Blue in federal crosshairs. Huge funding conduit for the neo-Marxists We'll discuss 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. 31 degrees in Chicago and AM 560. The Answer. I'm Patrick Johnson of the QC Kinetics newsroom. Highs today approaching the upper 30s. Civil rights trial is moving forward in the 21 police shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo. The wrongful death lawsuit centers on the March 21 incident in Little Village where Officer Eric Stillman shot Toledo during a foot chase into an alley. Attorneys were in court handling pretrial motions. Jury selection expected to start next week. Opening statements are scheduled for the 20th. Illinois lawmakers are considering a ban on no-knock warrants. The proposal is named after Anjanette Young, a social worker subjected to a botched 2019 raid in Chicago. She was handcuffed and left naked during a search of her home. The measure would limit no-knock warrants in cases involving immediate safety threats. There is a similar proposal that stalled in Chicago. On the south side, the White Sox adjusting to the cold, moving the start of their game today to 2:10 due to expected frigid conditions. This report is service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of free monitoring with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings can see the real problem.
Democrats in Chicago. First, they blamed Sheridan Gorman for her own death. They said that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. No, I think the real problem here, folks, is that American citizens like Sheridan Gorman are being murdered by people who should not be here.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jammed on 8094 westbound with a crash at Torrance Avenue in the right lane. Solid on the outbound Kennedy from the Byrne interchange to Ontario Street with an accident blocking the right lane. So 43 minutes from the Byrne interchange to O'Hare, 50 on the inbound side. Inbound is stop and go in the express lanes from Montrose to Ontario Street. The Ike is 47 in, 36 out from Wolf to the old post office. Just volume on the Stevenson from the Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. 62 minutes. Outbound is 38, 45 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange. The express lanes inbound slow down between 59th Street and the Stevenson and jammed northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less now. That's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises. All on Verizon's 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found straightforward prices, exclusively at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be colder with a mix of clouds and some sunshine, reaching a high of 40. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and chilly with a chance of a shower towards dawn and a low of 32. Tomorrow will be breezy with a combination of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 65. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. It's Election Day north of the Cheddar Curtain in Wisconsin. They have another state Supreme Court race on the ballot. It's interesting. This will either increase the margin that the left has on the court from 4-3 to 5-2, or it will, hold serve, right? Mm-hmm. The left candidate is up in the polls, at least what I've seen from polling, like Marquette University polling. It just seems like that race 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, the last state Supreme Court race there was a huge affair, like money coming in from everywhere. This has been a rather muted one, but it seems to be very much in line with the trends in these elections that are run-ups to the November midterms, which is to say favoring the neo-Marxist party. And, of course, it also gives us an opportunity to kick the tires and see how election integrity is going in places like Wisconsin, swing state. Possibility of a gubernatorial pickup with Tom Tiffany, the congressman there, running for governor. And we still got problems in Green Bay. I mean, I don't know enough about that to speak intelligently, but I mean, is Green Bay becoming like a little mini Cook County? Green Bay, you'll remember, is where we had the problem with back in the days of Mark Zuckerberg putting staff members into local election offices. Green Bay was the epicenter of that problem. So much so that, if I'm remembering correctly, Wisconsin passed a law so you couldn't do that anymore. You can't have private interested parties staffing public election offices. You know, presents a bit of a conflict of interest, it turns out. But there are problems there in Green Bay, as reported by the locals.
Some Green Bay absentee voters are concerned after being mailed double ballots. This includes Green Bay resident David Baumgart, who votes absentee while living in Florida for the winter. He received the duplicate ballot just days after mailing back the original.
And at first I thought, did they, get my ballot back and there was a problem? But no explanation or anything. It was just obviously a second ballot. So obviously I didn't send it in because I had already voted.
Baumgart wasn't the only one to get 2 absentee ballots. A total of 152 Green Bay absentee voters received an additional one for the spring election, according to City Clerk Celestine Jeffries.
We sent letters to them already saying that if you've gotten 2 ballots, don't vote them both. Only vote one and destroy the other one at your home. We did get some phone calls, which is how we found out that we did that.
Jeffries says absentee ballots were sent out around the same time that Blizzard Elsa came through the area. Because of this, City Hall was closed an extra day, meaning the clerk's office had to work quickly to get ballots out on time. Jeffries says mailing labels were printed twice, and ballots were sent out before anyone noticed the mistake.
What we need to do is to just make sure that whatever gets printed on labels, that we put a check on that batch. It's literally a batch that these have been printed already.
This incident brings up worries over potential election fraud within the city of Green Bay.
I really don't think it's acceptable for these type of things to happen. So I would hope that whatever the problem is, they would figure it out and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
And for voters like Baumgart, it makes him question the process.
If I had filled that out again and sent it in, would they catch it on the other end? Or since this already slipped through the cracks, would I have gotten a double vote?
To ensure votes don't get counted twice, Jeffries says election officials do a daily audit of the return ballots, followed by a ballot file audit. In Green Bay, Tony Langfellow, Fox 11 News.
Well, thank you, Tony Langfellow. Maybe have some systems checks on the front end, too, in terms of what is sent out. I know it's difficult after the COVID experience where we just willy-nilly drop ship ballots all over the place. But, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. Anybody has any color on Green Bay or Wisconsin today being Election Day, feel free to give us a call, 312-642-5600. You can also text us at the same number. I want to fold in this other development, which is much more positive in the sense of Act Blue, which is a huge conduit for money to neo-Marxist candidates. New York Times has a story, shockingly, suggesting that Act Blue reportedly lied to Congress about vetting foreign donations. Here's Fox News reporting on that.
This could have major implications for Democrats heading into the midterms. One of Act Blue's own former lawyers reportedly suggested this could lead to a criminal investigation. Act Blue has facilitated billions in donations for Democrats, ranging from presidential nominees to local school board candidates. A report in the New York Times cited a 2023 letter from its CEO, Regina Wallace-Jones, to GOP investigators, claiming Act Blue used multi-layered screening to root out foreign donations, which are illegal under federal law. The problem? Act Blue's former lawyers told her some of those steps weren't always followed, and that presented a substantial risk if she was found to have misled Congress.
Started looking into it, we determined that Act Blue had really pulled back on some of the security measures on their website, which would have enabled foreign actors to inject contributions under the name of other people.
Act Blue sent us a statement saying Wallace-Jones never made false statements, adding non-U.S. citizens have not and never will be permitted to make political contributions on our platform. Every contribution made through Act Blue goes through a fraud review. Its former law firm, Covington & Burling, stands by what it said, writing, quote, "We have complete confidence in the legal advice of our lawyers provided to Act Blue." Now, according to the Times, the law firm's memo said some donors paid through platforms like Apple Pay, PayPal, or Venmo, and were not asked for any verification like a passport number to prove they were U.S. citizens.
Mm-hmm. And this was treated as lawfare, you'll remember, when Trump directed the Justice Department to investigate Act Blue. This is the platform that virtually every neo-Marxist candidate uses. It was, this was just to cripple the other side's infrastructure. It was, using state power to put your finger on the scale, to interfere with the elections, and so on and so forth. But it turns out that there appears to be a there there. The law firm wrote in question that you heard reference that the steps that the ActBlue CEO had described them taking to ensure compliance with campaign finance laws were not being taken. This presents a substantial risk for ActBlue, said the outside counsel. One memo even raised the specter of a criminal investigation if prosecutors believe that ActBlue had tried to conceal facts about its efforts to prevent foreign contributions. And as you heard in that report, in testimony before Congress, there was a potentially misleading response given by ActBlue's CEO. By the way, this is nothing new. You'll recall President Obama's campaign in 2008. The word was they basically turned off. This was, pre the level of sophistication we have now. Again, we're talking about almost 2 decades ago. But you can still donate online. And the assertion was that the Obama campaign had turned the filters off to try to weed out contributions from foreign donors, since you can't take foreign money, and compounded that by failing to disclose donations. At the time, I think, and this was well after he's elected and all the attention has shifted away, but at the time, I think it was the largest fine any campaign committee had been imposed on any campaign committee by the FEC. It was like $375,000. So go back to the Clinton era and Al Gore and his Chinese communist bundling buddies, to Obama and turning off the filters and failing to disclose. We can pay the fine after the fact if they catch us to keep appearances, to now this story about ActBlue doing something similar with an updated platform, but the same and more advanced technology, but the same sort of skullduggery. So part of the conversation about election integrity is, yes, can you legally vote? ID. What are we doing with the absentee ballot program, or the and vote by mail programs, or even in-person absentee ballot, early voting? What are we doing with respect to ballots that are mailed in as part of vote by mail that are received after Election Day? Are they credentialized according to the law? And then there's the other piece of this, too, which is campaign finance, which is massive. The ability to launder money that goes undetected, the willful blindness of an ActBlue, and then potentially, relatively speaking, a slap on the wrist by the FEC after the fact. So at least on this, Trump and the Department of Justice was ahead of it rather than trying to piece it all together after all the damage has been done. And now that we've got a New York Times story, oh boy, there should be real attention paid to this and real digging on this by House Republican or Republican congressional investigators, as well as conservative media, because the New York Times isn't going to carry much more water on this. It's a real issue, though. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, it sounds like it's raining ballots and cheese curds in Green Bay. What else is new?
Dan Prof, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus.
Have you seen my husband?
No.
He's hot.
I'm sorry to hear that.
What?
Good news. Hasselus Mattress is home to a variety of cool gel mattresses, including Tempur-Pedic.
Okay, but...
And right now, get 48 months interest-free financing on Tempur-Pedic with approved credit. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup, free removal of your old mattress, and a $300 MasterCard gift card with your new Tempur-Pedic.
Wow, that's pretty hot.
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
Your family and friends love you, but they hate seeing you in pain all the time, especially heading into vacation season. So allow me to recommend my friends at QC Kinetics. They'll take care of your pain and get you right on with your day. It's that easy. Listen, if you answer yes to more than one of these questions, then you're a great candidate for QC Kinetics. Do you have consistent joint pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulders, or your back? Does pain rob you from a good night's sleep? Are you missing work or saying no to activities you otherwise love doing? Are you taking painkillers? If this is you, then today could be the day to turn that corner and get real relief. With 5 Chicagoland locations and weekend appointments, QC Kinetics treatments are easy. They're done in the office. The consultations are free, and I've seen the results in person, which is why I recommend QC Kinetics. So don't wait. This will be the most meaningful thing you can do for yourself and those who love you. Call now, 312-827-6261. The number again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. It's a story that fills you with a very American kind of pride. In a risky and costly operation, the U.S. rescued the missing pilot who had been shot down over Iran. The operation involved hundreds of intelligence and military personnel, Navy SEAL Team 6, Army Delta Force, CA operatives who carried out a deception campaign, even the destruction of 2 damaged aircraft, all to find one man. Some questioned why America would go to such extraordinary lengths just to recover a single pilot. Of course, we wanted to deny Iran a propaganda victory and access to any intelligence the pilot possessed. But there's more to it than that. We come from a Judeo-Christian worldview. We believe every life is precious. We honor our fighting men and women, and we don't leave any of them behind. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
AM 560, The Answer.
ESPN programming is generally unwatchable, but there are exceptions. This was a nice moment. Dan Orlovsky, a former quarterback who's a ESPN presenter, brought his autistic son Madden to the studio on Autism Awareness Day, and Madden got to give a little presentation on air. Good stuff. Dad, as you'll understand, very emotional.
Good job. Are you crying? Yeah. Because I love you. Good job. It's proud, bud.
Thank you, ESPN, for inviting me here. I think drawing is really great.
You're great at it.
I have great artwork, great coloring, great handwriting, and also I love other things. I love playing video games. I love the Eagles, which I already said I love. I love eating pizza, cheeseburgers, French fries, hot dogs, and chicken nuggets. And also chocolate ice cream. And I want to tell this to Hunter, Noah, Lennon, and Mom, if they're watching this. Mom, I love you. Hunter, you're my favorite twin. Noah, I do like you. And Lennon, you're a good sister. I have great autism. Thank you all for supporting me.
Good job, bud.
And I love you, Mom, Hunter, Noah, and Lennon.
Love you.
Dad was looking for a little shout out too. He didn't get it, but yeah, the panel is emotional too, as you can imagine. I should have mentioned at the outset, Madden also, Dan Orlovsky's son, also showed off like some of his artwork, which is what he was referencing and the things that he likes and stuff. So a nice moment. Dan Orlovsky seems like a good dude. So there you go. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Appreciate everybody tuning in and chiming in. Back with more tomorrow. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran is not budging as the clock keeps ticking. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News' a senior official tells Reuters Iran will not stop blocking oil and other shipping in the Strait of Hormuz for empty promises. Reopening the strait is President Trump's demand with an 8 p.m. Eastern Time deadline.
And after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants.
Threatening to blow all of them up. And 2 hours ago, the president posted a more dire warning. He doesn't want it to happen, but it probably will.
There have been very few presidential warnings in history as sobering as the first 6 words of that Truth Social post. A whole civilization will die today. And sobering is the point of this. President Trump saying he is not pushing back this 8